Chapter 761. Lin Clan. Zhong, what's going on? Lin Yin frowned slightly. I'm curious too. Lin Jin laughed heartily. Zhong, you've always been calm and collected when you do things. If you were to tell me that you made a mistake by placing an artificer apprentice who was supposed to be ranked near 4,000 to the 100th place, I wouldn't believe it no matter what. Lin Zhong smiled. Clan leader, you're wise. Lin Zhong looked at Lin Yin and nodded. Master, this disciple acted on his own accord. Please don't take offense. Lin Yin stroked his long beard. Zhong, did you discover something? A glint flashed across Lin Zhong's honest face. I won't hide it from Master and clan leader. There's indeed something fishy about this because I discovered that Lin Feng might very well possess the dual pupils of the imitation type. Oh, Lin Jun and Lin Yan were surprised. What's going on? Lin Yan's interest was immediately piqued. Yes, tell me in detail. Lin Jun nodded. Lin Zhong wasn't surprised. A light flashed in his hand, and he said seriously, Clan leader, Master, you'll understand after you watch this video. One on the left, one on the right. Lin Jun and Lin Yin sat side by side, looking at the light screen in front of them. He's that Lin Feng? Lin Jun nodded thoughtfully with a glint between his brows. The video wasn't in a good position. It only captured the side of Lin Feng's face. Even so, they could still determine Lin Feng's age from his skin, the corners of his eyes, and hair. He was indeed only in his early 20s. Lin Feng was currently refining a sword embryo in the video. His movements were extremely ugly. Sigh. Lin Yin pursed his lips and frowned. This wasn't the first time he saw this video. He had seen it during Lin Feng's test. It was a complete mess. Ridiculous. That day, after giving the 2 evaluations, Lin Yin left in a huff. In his opinion, Lin Feng was simply squandering his talent. Indeed, it's nothing much. Seeing Lin Feng's final sword embryo, Lin Jin commented. Everyone in the Lin family was a weapon refiner. Although Lin Jun's attainments in weapon refining were not as good as Lin Yan's, he was still worthy of the title of Weapon Refining Grandmaster. Seeing Lin Feng's inferior technique, he frowned and couldn't help but sigh. Looking at their expressions, Lin Zhong smiled and said, Refining techniques are not the main point. Patriarch, Master, continue watching. In an instant, the scene changed, and the process of a bald man refining the sword embryo was shown. Lin Jun and Lin Yin were puzzled at first, but as the bald man began to refine, their eyes widened and they held their breaths. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds. The sword embryo was formed. The scene froze at that second. As the bald man finished refining the sword embryo, Lin Jun and Lin Yan's eyes lit up. The flame's temperature, angle, intensity, and every refining process, it's exactly the same, Lin Yin said in a deep voice. That's nothing. Practice makes perfect. However, even the basic mistakes such as raising the wrist, changing the flame, connecting, and so on, are exactly the same. Lin Jun's eyes flickered thoughtfully. That's too strange. Even if he was learning, he couldn't have learned the mistakes together, right? One mistake could be a coincidence, but if every mistake was the same, then there was a big problem. Apprentice Square. It's true. Teacher, I heard it too. The young man on Jing Yuyu's left said seriously. Me too. The woman on Jing Yuyu's right raised her hand and said. Everyone echoed, causing Li Hao, who was beside Lin Feng, to be puzzled. Did Lin Feng say anything just now? Maybe I was too engrossed and didn't notice. Li Hao didn't think too much. You only know how to blabber and act like a hero. Lu Yikai snorted coldly. He had lost face after being compared to Lin Feng twice, so he couldn't help but feel angry. If you have the ability, then go up and give a try. Let everyone see if you really have the ability. That's right. Everyone's gaze converged. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh softly. He glanced at Jing Yuyu, who had a crafty look in the corner of her eyes, but he felt helpless. Women were indeed not easy to offend. Since you're so confident, then come up and give it a try. Lin Lingmao was the calmest one. Her eyes were focused on Lin Feng. However, she was also curious. What kind of ability did this seemingly ordinary young man have? Was he related to the Lin clan, or did he have a special ability? Why did her master insist on putting him in the first group? Lin Lama also wanted to know the answer. As for whether Lin Feng had said anything or not, that was secondary. No. Lin Feng shook his head and declined. His voice was calm, but it was instantly filled with mocking laughter. TSK, I thought he was strong, but he only knows how to talk. What a coward. That's right. Although Lu Kai failed, he still tried. He gave up without even thinking. What a coward. Don't say that. Comparing someone who came in through the back door with the number one of our group, Lu Kai, isn't overestimating him? Is he worthy? Waves of mocking voices came one after another. Listening to all kinds of voices, Lin Feng faintly smiled. He never cared about this kind of gossip. So what if he succeeded? How would it help him? Show off? What's the point? Humph. Lu Kai disdainfully turned his head away. Jing Yu turned around, pinched her nose, and pointed at her face at Lin Feng. Okay, quiet. Lin Lama looked around and said lightly, What right do you have to talk about others? No matter if it's the number 1 or the 100th, everyone will be treated equally here. There will be no privileges. Only apprentices who perform well will have special rewards. In the first round, the first one to pass the test can enter the time engraving array to cultivate for half of the remaining 3 months. In the other half of the time, the assistant mentor will guide you one-on-one to improve your refining level. In an instant, everyone was in an uproar. Even Lin Feng's eyes flashed and his heart moved. Time engraving array with 100-fold rate. The cultivation effect was probably better than when he was in the Land of Wood Spirit in Yanling Prefecture. Perhaps the time multiplier was slightly inferior, but the density of spirit energy here was much higher than in Yanling Prefecture. The cultivation effect was incomparable. However, assistant mentor, one-on-one guidance? Lin Feng was puzzled. At this time, other apprentices who had the same question raised their hands and asked, Mentor, who is the assistant mentor? You will naturally know when the time comes. Lin Lingma said lightly. What I can tell you is that the assistant mentor is not inferior to me in terms of refining knowledge, ability, and foundation. And one-on-one guidance can greatly improve your deficiencies and teach according to your aptitude. I don't need to say more about the benefits. Lin Feng nodded. Just like cultivation, one would cultivate with the masses. On the other hand, under the guidance of his master, he had improved meticulously in every aspect. Naturally, there was no comparison. Mentor, can I take the test any time within the 3 months? Jing Yu stood up and asked curiously. No. Lin Lama shook her head slowly. Everyone only has 3 chances to apply for the early test. Not only for the first round, the second, third, and fourth round are all the same. Lin Lingma paused and looked at Lu Kai. For example, he has already lost his first chance. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Lu Kai's face turned pale, and he was so angry that he vomited blood. However, since Lin Lingma said it, it was impossible to take it back. He could only sigh at his own bad luck. Everyone looked at Lin Feng and secretly thought that Lin Feng's luck was good. He was not like Lu Kai, who had cut off his own arm before the test began. The second person to pass the test can use 1/4 of the remaining 3 months to enter the time engraving array to cultivate. And 1/4 of the time, the assistant mentor will give one-on-one guidance. The third person to pass the test, Lin Lingma, said it calmly, but it made everyone's blood boil. The originally low morale instantly soared. Everyone's eyes were filled with dense sparks. It was quite encouraging. A slap in the face and a date to eat. Lin Feng smiled faintly, but he had to admit that this move was quite useful. It not only subdued this group of proud apprentices, but also aroused their fighting spirit. Without thinking, one could guess that in these 3 months, no, 1 year, in order to obtain the reward, everyone would do their best to fight for it. This kind of healthy competition was quite helpful in improving one's strength. But for himself, should I go or not? Lin Feng muttered and fell in a deep thought. He had seen the refining skills that Lin Lingma used just now. Although it was difficult, he should have a 50% chance of success. Whether he could succeed or not, he would only know after trying. The key was whether it was worth it or not. Lin Feng. Li Hao's eyes lit up, and he leaned over. Lin Feng replied softly. Hey, the time engraving array with 100-fold rate. Li Hao blinked. I heard that it's Master Yin Qing's authentic work. I really want to see it. You're also interested in the time engraving array? Lin Feng smiled. More than that. Li Hao chuckled. I'm involved in both alchemy and star talisman masters. There's no harm in having more skills. Be careful not to eat too much. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. Sometimes, learning more might not be a good thing. It was better to specialize in something. After all, a person's time and energy were limited. Aren't I making a choice? Li Hao said casually. I'm seeing which sub-profession suits me the most. Anyway, I'm still an apprentice now. It's still early. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Everyone had their own path to walk, and it was inconvenient for him to interfere. But it's true that there's no harm in having more skills. The time engraving array, with 100-fold rate, is Master Yin Qing's masterpiece. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled, and he nodded thoughtfully. If I can learn it, there's no harm in it. Others had to spend time, but it was different for him. Moreover, compared to the other sub-professions, the time engraving array was different. As long as he saw the time engraving array, he could copy it. At this moment, Lin Lingma's voice slowly sounded. Okay, these are the rules of the apprentice square. Does anyone have any questions? If not, training officially begins. First update. Chapter 762. Everyone instantly quieted down and opened their eyes wide. They focused their attention and listened carefully to Lin Lingma's every word, not daring to make any jokes. After all, Lin Lingma only taught for an hour every day, and she wouldn't repeat what she said, nor would she do the demonstration for the second time. If she missed it, she could only learn the teaching content from the video. Although it was equally effective, it was still a level lower than the live teaching. Just like this general class, compared to the one-on-one training, it was also a level lower. Wait a minute, a calm voice suddenly sounded. However, it broke the atmosphere that had just condensed. Lin Lingma frowned slightly unhappy. It's you again, the last place. Jing Yu turned her head and curled her lips. So troublesome. Lu Yikai snorted. He was in a bad mood. Everyone was whispering to each other. Seeing that the one who asked was Lin Feng, who had just become a deserter, they were extremely disdainful. Not caring about other people's gazes, Lin Feng stood up and looked at Lin Lingma with bright eyes. I want to ask, is there a time limit for one-on-one tutoring with the assistant tutor? This is too funny. Someone like him wants to have one-on-one tutoring with the assistant tutor. Everyone held their stomachs and laughed. Even Jing Yu covered her mouth and giggled. She was charming, attracting everyone's attention. Only the top 3 would have the reward of one-on-one tutoring. How could it be so easy to get? Yes, at least 6 hours a day. Lin Lingma said slowly. 6 times the time. In other words, 6 times the efficiency. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Lin Lingma had just said that the assistant tutor's ability was not inferior to hers. One-on-one tutoring would naturally be more efficient. You are so confident that you can get the top 3 spots? Lin Lingma smiled indifferently, but it was unknown whether it was praise or ridicule. She looked around at everyone and didn't forget to encourage them. Everyone work hard. It's not easy to get the top 3. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. I want to give it a try. After saying that, he slowly stepped onto the stage. Without the slightest hesitation, there was no hesitation at all. It was as if he was doing something very normal, causing everyone to be stunned. Was he for real? Everyone only had 3 chances. Stop pretending, Lu Yikai said disdainfully. That's right, trying to be brave. Let's see how you'll make a fool of yourself later. Jing Yu played with her earrings and pouted her charming little mouth. Lin Feng turned back to look at Jing Yu. That unruly and willful look was very similar to the first time he met Qianqian. Thinking of her sly eyes and teasing just now, his eyes flashed and he smiled. What if I do? That's impossible. Jing Yu tilted her head. Her lips were lightly painted with lip gloss. Are you that confident? Lin Feng smiled as he stared at Jing Yu. Of course. Jing Yu proudly stuck out her chest, which was as tall as her confidence. She lightly snorted. If you can do it, Biting her lips, Jing Yu suddenly didn't know what to say. She casually said, even if I marry you, it's fine. Boom. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even Lin Lung Mo was startled. Even Lin Feng was dumbfounded. He couldn't help but laugh. Li Hao's eyes were wide open. He couldn't believe it. The dignified third miss of the Jing clan was extremely daring. She dared to say anything. Shaking his head, Lin Feng indifferently smiled. Originally, he just wanted to tease Jing Yu. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. Even if she wanted to marry him, he didn't want to. Let's start, teacher. Lin Feng stretched out his right hand and ignored Jing Yu. This little girl was crazy and unruly. If he wanted to argue with her, it would be a real headache. It was better to ignore her. Lin Lung Mo's eyes flashed. Looking at Lin Feng's confident appearance, she was also curious. Long before she took over the first group, she was extremely curious about this Lin Feng, who was at the bottom of the group. With such a low score, he was able to reach the 100th place. What secrets did he have? She had asked her teacher, but he didn't have an answer. She wanted to test him, but she didn't succeed. Who would have thought that today he would send himself to her door? Here, Lin Lung Mo's hand flashed, and a fingernail-sized purple lattice crystal was placed in Lin Feng's hand. Her eyes sparkled. The rules are the same as before. There's no time limit, but you have to condense the purple lattice crystal into a long shape. Half a meter is considered a pass. No time limit? Lin Feng smiled. Others might not know, but he was very clear. The faster the purple lattice crystal was formed, the better. It was too fragile. The longer it was delayed, the more difficult it would be to form the purple lattice crystal. Because of the continuous calcining, even if it was very weak, the heat still existed and damaged the life of the purple lattice crystal. This was the balance. On one hand, he could control the fire to reduce the loss of the life of the purple lattice crystal. On the other hand, the longer the purple lattice crystal was, the more it would damage its life. The logic was simple. He had seen the entire process and even simulated it millions of times. But after all, this was his first time doing it. No problem. Lin Feng closed his eyes and focused. After all, there was more than one chance. Even if he failed the first time, there was still a second and third time. There was no need to worry. Who? Taking a deep breath, Lin Feng quickly entered his own world. A scene seemed to be replaying in his mind. It was the entire process of Lin Lungma forming the purple lattice crystal. From the fire to the end, every moment was perfectly presented. Just like this, Lin Feng's heart was completely in the zone. In his senses, he and Lin Lungma's light seemed to overlap. Holding the purple lattice crystal, he entered a strange state. It was like déjà vu, Apprentice Square, second level. Looking at the huge screen in front of him, Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flashed. Her face was so beautiful that it could captivate the birds and beasts. Her snow-white skin was so delicate that it could be broken by the wind, revealing the extreme softness and beauty of a woman. She gave off a pitiful feeling. This scene is so familiar. Lin Yuma thought. Suddenly, he remembered. During the competition with Enlu, Lin Feng also had the same appearance. Could it be that he's really confident? The requirement for fire control is extraordinarily high. Lin Yuma pondered, just as he was puzzled. Suddenly, beep, 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 the star crystal watch on his left hand suddenly sounded. Lin Yuma looked at the star crystal watch. Looking at the familiar digital signal, she smiled. What's going on? Can he do it? Yeah, don't waste our time. Everyone was chattering noisily, but they were a little impatient from waiting. On the other hand, Jing Yu stopped talking. Her face was flushed. She was provoked by Lin Feng and didn't pay attention to what she said. Now that she thought about it, she regretted it. It's okay. He definitely won't succeed. Yeah, what's there to be afraid of? It's okay, Jing Yu. She rested her chin on her palm and pursed her lips. Her fingers played with two earrings. Jing Yu kept comforting herself. Her appearance was charming and cute, causing everyone to be stunned. Lin Lingma crossed her arms and looked at them quietly. She didn't say anything and didn't stop them. For a real blacksmith, no matter how noisy the environment was, once they started to refine, even if it was just the simplest embryo, they had to focus all of their attention. The outside world's interference wasn't just a hindrance, it was a kind of training. A real blacksmith had a strong heart. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Just as everyone's voice was getting louder and louder, and they were about to lose their patience, swoosh. Lin Feng's eyes opened instantly. Two flashes of light shot out like lightning, one on the left and one on the right. It was as if two resplendent stars had lit up, causing Lin Lungma, who was facing him, to open her mouth. She was incomparably shocked. In a split second, bang, flames bloomed. There was no star power, only the pure rebirth fire. It was easier to control. One on the left, one on the right. The flames between his hands formed a perfect balance. In terms of fire control, Lin Feng was already at the peak. The decrease in his fire control was only due to the presence of star power and the addition of constellation power. The stronger the power, the harder it was to control. Lin Feng wasn't unfamiliar with constellation power, but to control it like how he controlled the rebirth fire. At this stage, it was unrealistic. But now he didn't need constellation power. Balance. The most important thing is balance. Lin Feng was extremely focused. This was the only word that appeared in his mind. In the air, the flames were extremely fierce. It was like a surging tide, attacking wave after wave. But to Lin Feng, all the flames came from his body. The rebirth fire didn't need to borrow spiritual energy from the outside world. Most importantly, the flames from the outside world couldn't affect the rebirth fire at all. In itself, it was a top-grade defensive flame. Even if it was just a little bit of power, it couldn't be violated. Hua! The flames burned, and the purple lattice crystal instantly changed shape. The first flame was crucial. Everything was difficult at the beginning. To determine the melting point of the purple lattice crystal and the temperature it could withstand, it was very important. After all, this was a very fragile metal. Compared to other metals, its reaction to flames was only 1%, 1%, or even 1%. This is the point. Lin Feng's eyes shone. Perfect simulation, successfully replicating the strength of Lin Lungma's flames. In an instant, Lin Feng's hands moved rapidly. Very quickly, very quickly. To Lin Lungma's movements, it was very slow. But to Lin Feng, it was already extremely fast. Hua! Hua! In Lin Feng's mind, the light moved continuously. His hands were extremely fast. His body moved automatically. Lin Feng's eyes were immersed in a thick light. He completely replicated Lin Lingma's movements without any deviation. The feeling was very clear. His body seemed to have already adapted to the feeling of energy. Complete silence. Looking at Lin Feng's movements, everyone was stunned, including Jing Yu. Second update. Chapter 763. No, this is impossible. How could this be? Jing Yu's face was pale and her hands were weak. In the blink of an eye, the purple lattice crystal in Lin Feng's hand had exceeded 0.5 meter. Too fast, so fast that no one could react. Lin Feng had perfectly replicated and imitated Lin Lingma's technique. Once again, he perfectly displayed it. But when it was done by Lin Lingma, everyone only felt admiration. But when it was done by Lin Feng, it was truly shocking. Huge shock. It can't be. You must be kidding. I don't think I saw it wrongly. Everyone's head was buzzing. They were like clay statues, unable to move at all. The blacksmith apprentices who were mocking Lin Feng just now felt a burning pain on their faces. They had lost all their face. Lin Feng had used the most direct method to give them a tight slap in the face. The one who slapped the hardest was Louis Kai. He had mocked Lin Feng's ranking and assumed that he had gotten in through the back door. Louis Kai was full of disdain towards Lin Feng. In fact, he did have the qualifications. But now, The test that he was unable to complete was a complete failure from the very start. Yet, Lin Feng had effortlessly completed it. Furthermore, it had completely exceeded the target. 1 meter, 1.5 meters, 2 meters. It was still growing. It was as if he was showing off. 3 months later, the target that everyone had to reach was 1 meter. And the blacksmith apprentices of the Lin clan had to reach 2 meters. But Lin Feng had surpassed 2 meters in an instant. It did not stop. This is the feeling. Not only that, although the technique is the same as the instructor's, my rebirth flame, it's even better. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The intensity of the flame was exactly the same, but the consumption of the purple lattice crystal's life force was different. His rebirth flame was more gentle, softer, and more resilient. The control of the flame was extremely precise. Lin Feng's eyes had long since regained their brightness, and the scene in his mind had completely disappeared. He didn't need to rely on the replication process anymore. His body was already familiar with this feeling. Compared to the engraved pattern formation, his familiarity with refining weapons allowed him to experience it personally and grasp the essence of it better. It was a type of comprehension. It wasn't difficult, because this was the basic category of an armament master. The first round of training was actually very simple, which was the basics. The difference was that the Lin clan's basics might have a higher requirement for fire control, but it didn't require much knowledge. Even a layman like himself could master it. I can still continue. I haven't reached my limit yet. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. At this time, the purple net crystal strip in his hand was already 3 meters long. However, the purple lattice crystal's life force had yet to reach the brink of collapse. It could extend even further. Practice was the best way to learn and comprehend. It was just like fighting was the most direct way to increase one's strength. Especially after personally experiencing it, a perfect practice would allow one to grasp it accurately and comprehend it the fastest. Lin Feng was now like this. Apprentice Square, 2nd floor. I didn't expect Master Yin to be so impatient. This is unexpected. Lin Yuma's beautiful face had a faint smile as he closed the star crystal. He was as beautiful as a painting. Lin Yuma's eyes flickered as he thought to himself, this Lin Feng from the wilderness has too many secrets and unknowns. I must complete the mission given to me by the clan leader. If this matter is handled well, I will definitely be able to restore the prestige of my father's lineage. To Lin Yuma, this was the most important matter. She carried a very heavy burden on her thin shoulders. On the screen, the faint light reflected on Lin Yuma's snow-white skin. It was so beautiful that it was suffocating. That pair of crystal-clear eyes contained wisdom and maturity that people of the same age did not have. Lin Yuma smiled and looked at the screen. I was so focused on talking that I forgot about him. In an instant, she shouted in disbelief. To the usually calm Lin Yuma, this was a rare loss of self-control. That flawless face revealed a look of disbelief as her beautiful eyes sparkled. Lin Feng finally stopped. The faint purple light wrapped around the purple net crystal strip in his hand, causing everyone to be shocked, including Jing Yu, Lu Yikai, every artificer apprentice present, and Lin Lingma. A full 4 meters long, an unbelievable length. A chill ran down Lin Lingma's spine. She still hadn't recovered from her shock. Her chest kept rising and falling, and her face was filled with shock. Even she, who had immersed herself in the artificer profession for many years and had a flawless foundation, could only condense a purple net crystal strip to 3.5 meters. That was her limit. Moreover, it had to be done when she was in her best state. However, this inexperienced Lin Feng in front of her was only refining for the first time. It had already reached 4 meters long. This wasn't a joke. True artificers knew that after the purple net crystal strip reached 3 meters, every 1 meter after that was a huge test and burden. In the entire Lin clan, there were no more than 2 people who could condense a purple net crystal strip to 4 meters. Moreover, they were all Earth rank artificers. But now, There was a Star-Lord rank monster who could condense a purple net crystal strip to 4 meters. Too terrifying. There was complete silence. Lin Lemon wasn't the only one who was shocked. Everyone was stunned as they stared at this miracle. They were so stunned that they couldn't utter a single word. In their eyes, that coward, that rich kid, and the existence at the bottom of the rankings had instantly transformed into an unreachable existence. This level of fire control was already beyond imagination. Who could do this? In an instant, a crisp scream rang out. Like birds startled by the twang of a bow, everyone looked over. They saw Jing Yuyu, who had shrunk her body like an ostrich and buried her head deep in her chest. Her face was as red as a big apple, as if juice was about to drip out. In an instant, everyone was incomparably shocked, especially Li Hao, whose eyes were even bigger than lanterns. Only Louis Kai's face was extremely pale. He had lost, and he had lost terribly. Lin Clan. Yuma, this little girl is indeed not bad. Lin Jin nodded, pleased. Yes, she handled Lin Feng's matter well. Lin Yin stroked his long beard and said in satisfaction, compared to her peers, she's very mature. Lin Jun's eyes lit up slightly. He shook his head and sighed. But it's not her fault. Because of that matter, the family's fortune fell. The arranged marriage harmed her instead. The little girl stubbornly believes that the whole thing happened because of her. But in reality, sigh. Lin Jun let out a long sigh. He also felt helpless. All right, clan leader, this isn't your fault. Sometimes, you can't do as you wish. Lin Yin smiled faintly. Let's not talk about the past. How do you plan to deal with Lin Feng's matter? We'll see. Lin Jun's eyes lit up. 1 year is enough. As soon as he finished speaking, in an instant, beep, 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 the star crystal lit up. Lin Jun looked at it, and it suddenly lit up. It's Yuma. There's a video recording. Lin Jun looked at Lin Yin. The latter's expression was solemn as he nodded heavily. Lin Jun nodded. In an instant, he pressed a few buttons and quickly operated it. Suddenly, whoosh, a few brilliant rays of light shot out from the star crystal and were reflected on the huge light screen. In the image, a black-clothed young man appeared. Flames were rising from his hands as he calcined the purple, veined crystal strips. His movements were quite skillful. Lin Feng. Lin Yan's eyes lit up instantly. This is... Lin Jun was also shocked. Apprentice Square. This way. Lin Lingma led the way. Behind her, Lin Feng followed unhurriedly. Lin Lingma's words naturally meant what she said. Moreover, in her opinion, with Lin Feng's forging foundation, there was indeed no need for him to practice his basic abilities. That was purely a waste of time. You really don't know how to forge artifacts? Lin Lingma suddenly asked. Yes. Lin Feng didn't hide it. I've seen all 3 stages of your assessment. Lin Lingma didn't turn her head. She said slowly, with your results, it's impossible for you to enter the first group. I've always been very confused, but now I'm very sure that Master's decision wasn't wrong. Master's decision? Lin Feng's eyes moved slightly. He seemed to be deep in thought. You're indeed a piece of unpolished jade. Lin Lingma nodded. Just this fire control ability alone is enough to make you stand out. With this talent, it's more than enough to enter the first group. That's all, Lin Feng replied humbly. Ta! Lin Lingma stopped in her tracks. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, but he was puzzled. Suddenly, Lin Lingma turned her head. Her eyes were serious. Your advantages are very obvious, but your disadvantages are also very obvious. In my opinion, if you become an inscriber and alchemist, your future achievements will be even greater. Alchemists need to master too many things. It's not just fire control alone. Lin Feng looked at Lin Lingma. From her cold expression, he could see concern. Although her tone was cold, she was thinking for him. Thank you, instructor. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. However, I like alchemy. Like alchemy. These 4 words were enough to explain everything. Lin Lingma gave a rare, indifferent smile. Wasn't she the same? If she became a star talisman master, her achievements would only be higher than that of an alchemist. However, she still chose to be an alchemist. Therefore, when she saw Lin Feng's aptitude, She thought of herself and inexplicably advised him. However, she also guessed that this wouldn't be of much use. Let's go. The second floor is just ahead. Lin Lama's tone was much calmer. In the first floor, at this moment, flowers were exploding. There was an endless stream of discussions about Lin Feng. The atmosphere was extremely high. Damn, this guy really knows how to hide. With such strength, he's actually ranked 100th. Did you see his fire control technique just now? Damn, he's even better than Instructor. Not necessarily. I think Instructor didn't use her full strength. Everyone was discussing enthusiastically. However, they seem to have forgotten that not long ago, they looked down on Lin Feng so much. Everyone kicks a man when he's down. Naturally, there were many people who would take advantage of the situation. Moreover, the Douling world was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. The weak respected the strong. This wasn't just a matter of a few years. It was a deep-rooted thought. Lin Feng used his strength to conquer a group of people. Hey, Yu. Li Hao used his elbow to nudge the depressed Jing Yu. Don't touch me, Haozi. I'm annoyed. Jing Yu pouted and frowned. She was extremely worried. Li Hao smiled bitterly. How many times have I said it? Don't call me Haozi. We grew up together since childhood. Leave me some face, okay? Leave you some face. Who will leave me some face? Jing Yu's blushed face was still lingering. She recalled what she said to Lin Feng. Now, she wished she could find a hole to hide in. She recalled that she had spoken carelessly. Now that she was in a dilemma, she regretted it very much. Li Hao's eyes flickered. He touched Jing Yu lightly. You really want to marry him, Yu? Are you stupid? I've only seen him a few times. Jing Yu said angrily. Moreover, is he worthy of my Jing clan? Moreover, who doesn't say the wrong thing? Also, I don't like him at all. I hate him to death. She stomped her feet angrily. Jing Yu bit her lips and murmured, I really don't know. Haozi, the last sentence was said very softly, but Li Hao heard it clearly. How could he not know Jing Yu's character? Although she had a bit of a temper and was unruly and willful, she was forthright and always kept her promises. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so annoyed. Don't worry, I'll help you solve this matter. Li Hao patted Jing Yu's shoulder lightly. Go away. Don't take advantage of me. Jing Yu shrugged her shoulders and looked at Li Hao with her big eyes. Are you serious? I'm your brother. Li Hao smiled. Also, don't call me Haozi in the future. Let's see first. Jing Yu snorted. Her mood recovered a lot. She pursed her lips and hesitated. Are you confident? Li Hao smiled and nodded. He didn't say much. Although he and Lin Feng had just met, with his understanding of Lin Feng, this matter wouldn't be difficult, because he was very clear that Lin Feng was a real man. Li Hao guessed wrong about one thing. That was, Lin Feng had completely forgotten about this matter. Marry Jing Yu? Don't joke. It was purely because Jing Yu thought too much. We're here. Lin Lingma took out a black magnetic card and gently touched it. Just like the opening of the first floor, the door to the second floor slowly opened. Go in. I've already informed Yuma. She'll be waiting for you inside. Lin Lingma nodded. Yuma? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He seemed to have heard this name somewhere before. It was very familiar. Yuma? Yuma? Lin Feng muttered. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, adding the surname. Isn't it Lin Yuma? Lin Yuma. It's her? Lin Feng's eyes flashed with astonishment. A flawless, breathtakingly beautiful face appeared in his mind. That snow-white skin and perfect figure. Wasn't it the Lin Yuma he met in the Xiaoxiang restaurant yesterday? In a split second, he remembered everything. She's an assistant instructor? Lin Feng frowned. He didn't expect this. What's wrong? Lin Lingma asked. Nothing. Lin Feng shook his head and smiled. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they came. His eyes sparkled as he stepped in. Third update. Chapter 764. We meet again. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Seeing that familiar face, he was mentally prepared. So naturally, he was not surprised. Hello, Lin Feng. Lin Yuma's expression did not change at all. She said indifferently, from today onwards, I will be your personal instructor. Good. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. Since Lin Yuma did not mention yesterday's incident, he naturally would not mention it either. He would act as if nothing had happened. She was an instructor, and he was a student. This kind of relationship was quite good. In 3 months, you can freely allocate 2 sets of time. One set of time to enter the time engraving array, and the other set to receive my guidance. I will guide you for 6 hours every day. Lin Yuma's expression was calm, but there was a flash of light in her eyes. Lin Feng nodded. Lin Lingma had already told him that each set would take 1.5 months. He was not in a hurry to cultivate. It was rare to have a personal instructor. If he did not make good use of it, wouldn't it be a pity? Moreover, from his short understanding of Lin Yuma, although she was mature, she was not as shrewd as Lin Lingma. Moreover, Lin Yuma should be easier to talk to than Lin Lingma. Thinking of this, Lin Feng could not help but smile. Instructor Lin Lingma was like an iceberg. If I build a good relationship at the right time, maybe I can find out something from her. Lin Feng pondered. Although he did not know Lin Yuma's identity, based on her age, she was able to enter the first group and become an assistant instructor. Moreover, even Master Yinqing recognized her that day. According to Wan Macho, she was one of the 2 rising stars of the Lin clan. Her identity was definitely not simple. She may not know about Father's matter, but she may know Uncle Lin Jing. Father did not mention anyone from the Lin clan. He only believed Uncle Lin Jing. Obviously, Uncle Lin Jing should be my only relative in the Lin clan. Many thoughts flashed through Lin Feng's mind in an instant, but he did not reveal anything. As far as he was concerned, he had spent the past year hiding his identity and slowly infiltrating the Lin clan. However, if he really had the chance to find his Uncle Lin Jing in advance, he would not miss it. Have you thought it through? Seeing the change in Lin Feng's expression, Lin Yuma did not suspect anything. She had received the clan chief's orders to investigate Lin Feng, not only his background, but also his secrets. However, she had to do it step by step and could not be rushed. Both of them had their own plans. Assistant teacher, are you also a phoenix constellation? Lin Feng's eyes suddenly glowed. That's right. As long as it's a pure Lin clan bloodline, it's a phoenix constellation. Lin Yuma didn't hesitate. This wasn't a secret anyway. In order to ensure the continuation of the inheritance and the formation of the system, every family had its own bloodline. Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully. However, for now, it was still more important to follow the rules. If I can make good use of these 3 months, not only will my strength as a weapon refiner greatly increase, there will also be a great improvement. After pondering in his heart, Lin Feng looked at Lin Yuma and smiled. We can begin now. Teacher, I want to start with the Weapon Refiner's Foundation course. Foundation course? Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flashed. That's right. Lin Feng nodded. I want to start with the most basic content. Teacher, you can treat me as a Lin clan disciple who doesn't know anything and wants to become a weapon refiner's apprentice. You can start from the beginning. Since he wanted to learn, he would learn thoroughly. With a personal teacher, it was naturally different from a large class. With my fire control ability and what Duo said, the fire of rebirth is extremely suitable for weapon refiner. As a weapon refiner, I also have a way out. There's no harm in having more skills. Lin Feng smiled. When he condensed the purple lattice crystal bar just now, he was not the first to pass the test. It also made him clearly understand that the blood flowing in his body was indeed the blood of the Lin clan. He had only condensed the purple lattice crystal bar for the first time, but he was already able to understand and expand it. Unlike the rigid inscriptionist, he could completely grasp the weapon refiner skills. It was mastery, not copying. All right, Lin Yuma nodded. Although she was puzzled, she did not care. In her opinion, Lin Feng did indeed have the intention to learn the weapon refiner's path, and this was a very smart way to do it. The foundation of a weapon refiner was the most important. The same basic knowledge learned outside was completely different from the Lin clans. The one-on-one tutoring soon began. The Lin clan's weapon refiner's path had already formed a complete system. To be able to become an assistant teacher, Lin Yuma naturally had some skills. As for Lin Yuma, she had also walked out of the apprentice workshop and graduated with full marks in less than half a year. At that time, it had caused a commotion in the clan. How could one of two rising stars be an ordinary person? A weapon refiner's refinement is divided into 3 categories: one-handed, two-handed, and cauldron. It's not like what the outside world says, where true weapon refiner uses both hands to refine. In reality, a single hand and a cauldron each have their own uses. However, two-handed refinement is indeed the current mainstream refinement method for weapon refiners. Lin Yuma introduced slowly and meticulously. Her pleasant voice landed in Lin Feng's ears, and his eyes lit up. Lin Feng received every word clearly. Lin Yuma's teachings did not waste any time and went straight to the point. Moreover, it was easy to understand and very efficient. Originally, he was still a little worried. After all, Lin Yuma was about the same age as him. But now his worries were gone. Then what's the difference? Also, how are two-handed refinement and the other two generally used? Lin Feng asked carefully. Every detail, every point that he did not understand. He wanted to master everything. Since he was going to do it, he had to do it to the best of his ability. Compared to a large class, this kind of one-on-one teaching was more suitable for rapid progress and learning. If it was a large class, there would not be such a stage where he could answer questions at will. It wasn't like now, where he could ask any question, even the most basic and stupid questions. How are spirit treasures and astral treasures differentiated? Also, how are the levels of astral weapons and astral armors classified? Lin Feng asked one question after another tirelessly. Lin Yuma stared at Lin Feng, but answered meticulously. She answered whatever Lin Feng asked. Even if it was an answer that every weapon refiner in Shirluo County might know, she used the clearest and most correct answer to tell Lin Feng directly. She didn't show any emotions. Neither did she resist, because it was her job as an assistant tutor. In her position, she planned her own affairs. Soon, 6 hours had passed. Weapon refiners are divided into apprentice refiners, human rank weapon refiners, earth rank weapon refiners, and heaven rank weapon refiners. Lin Yuma's eyes twinkled. Apprentice refiners have no levels. Human rank weapon refiners are divided into 9 levels, and earth rank weapon refiners are divided into 9 levels. The human rank assessment is tested in the Small Weapon Refiners Alliance. The earth rank assessment must be tested in the Great Weapon Refiners Alliance. Oh, Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully. He suddenly asked again, what are the Small Weapon Refiners Alliance and the Great Weapon Refiners Alliance? And heaven rank weapon refiners. Stop. Lin Yuma stretched out her right index finger and pressed against her left palm, making a gesture. 6 hours have passed. So fast? Lin Feng was surprised. She was extremely interested in the weapon refiners themselves. In a short 6 hours, she had inexplicably consumed all of it. Seeing Lin Feng's disappointed look, Lin Yuma smiled faintly. The Union of Artificers is an alliance formed by weapon refiners, a rather powerful group. In every continent, there is a Great Weapon Refiners Alliance, and in every county, there is a Small Weapon Refiners Alliance. In fact, the 4 Great Weapon Refiners all have a similar alliance. First, it gathers the elites of the various weapon refiners to expand and promote. Second, it gathers a considerable force to seek benefits for the various weapon refiners. Although the management of this alliance is loose, the power it contains cannot be underestimated. Lin Feng's eyes flickered, and she nodded. Indeed, weapon refiners had a high status in the Douling world. How powerful would the Union of Artificers, which gathered almost 90% of the weapon refiners, be? It would be hard to imagine. All right, this is the last question I will answer you. You're not allowed to ask anymore. Lin Yuma also had a headache. Lin Feng was a curious baby. Every question he asked was thoroughly researched. Many of the knowledge that the Douling world's ancient warriors knew, he did not know a single thing. And it seemed like he was indeed humbly asking for guidance. He is indeed a savage warrior. There can't be any mistake. Lin Yuma thought in his heart and was even more certain. Seeing Lin Yuma's expression, Lin Feng could not help but laugh. However, since there was a free mentor, he naturally had to make good use of it. Wouldn't it be a pity if he missed it? Although it was only a short 6 hours, the amount of knowledge he had learned was considerable. Many of them were problems that extended from the existence of weapon refiners. Lin Yuma did not reject and answered him very carefully. Mentor, there seems to be something different about you. Lin Feng looked at Lin Yuma and asked curiously. When teaching, Lin Yuma did not speak or smile. His every action was extremely serious and proper. But now it was as if a taut string had been loosened. His expression had completely relaxed and even revealed a faint smile. The feeling was completely different. Lin Yuma shook his head slightly. Just call me Yuma normally. Oh, Lin Feng was surprised. Frowning slightly, Lin Yuma said, I'm not senior sister Lung Mo. It's uncomfortable to keep a straight face all day long. That's true. Lin Feng could not help but smile. Indeed, this Lin Yuma in front of him was the real her. It was the same as what he saw yesterday. Lin Yuma smiled, and the two of them started chatting. Both of them wanted to get to know each other and find out what was going on. They hit it off immediately, and there was no barrier between them. In addition, not only were the two of them similar in age, even their childhood experiences were very similar. They chatted very congenially. However, both of them deliberately avoided sensitive questions. After all, they had just met, and it was not the right time yet. Both of them had their own ulterior motives. Touching. There are monthly votes at the beginning of the month. I believe this is encouragement for Xiao Xiao's hard work in updating last month. Sincerely, there were a few times when I couldn't hold on anymore, but I still managed to pull through. This month is the Xuanhuan month. Originally, I should be pulling for monthly votes to enter the top 15, but Xiao Xiao does not intend to do so. Haha, because there is no hope even if I do. I hope everyone will subscribe more. This is the best support for Xiao Xiao. And this is the first update. This nonsense is not counted in the word count. Continue writing. Chapter 765. Lin Clan. You're back, master. A middle-aged man dressed like a butler bowed. Oh, it was a nasal sound. A muscular man was lying on an extremely luxurious dragon throne, gently rubbing his thumb ring on his left hand. His resolute face had a dignified expression. His expression was cold, giving people a feeling that he was difficult to approach. The second in command of the Lin clan, the deputy clan leader, Lam Tok Ti. If Lin Feng saw him, he would be extremely shocked. Lam Tok Ti's appearance was 80% similar to Lin Xiaoyan's. That nose, that face shape, those ears, and even that expression. It was as if they were carved from the same mold. Suddenly, where's Fan? Lam Tok Ti's eyes were still closed as he asked casually. Young master is cultivating in seclusion, preparing for the competition in a year. Butler Lin Ran said respectfully. Swish. Lam Tok Ti's eyes suddenly opened, shining brightly. He doesn't want to participate in the Rising Star battle, but wants to participate in the challenge competition? That should be the case, master. Lin Lao bowed. The corner of Lin Quan's mouth curled into a faint smile. The corner of her eyes cracked, pulling at a small scar. This little bastard is quite like his father. He's quite ambitious. Lam Tok Ti's mood seemed to improve a lot. Very good. A soldier who doesn't want to be a general isn't a good soldier. Lin ran. Lam Tok Ti shouted. Master, what are your orders? Lin Lao took a step forward. Lam Tok Ti played with his thumb ring on his left hand, his eyes revealing a pitch-black light. Since you want to do it thoroughly. Immediately prepare star talismans, star pills, and cultivation equipment. In 1 year's time, I'm going to train this little bastard properly. Yes, master. Lin Ran bowed and left. Apprentice Square. On the first level, everyone fought with their lives on the line. With Lin Feng as a role model, everyone was motivated to work harder, especially Louis Kai. He turned his grief into strength and gritted his teeth. I won't lose again, Lin Feng. In the first round, I will be the second to pass the test. In the second round, I will catch up to and surpass you. I will never let you ride on my head again. The blow was extremely great. Some people would be dispirited, unable to recover from the setback, but some people would face the waves head-on. Clearly, Louis Kai was the latter. However, he had a lot of competitors. Although he was ranked first in the first assessment with a high score of 284, his competitors were the elites of the elites. Excluding Jing Yuyu's 283 points, the lowest score in the first group was 272 points. Everyone was practically standing on the same starting line. You want to shake me off? Easier said than done. Moreover, Louis Kai's forte was refining techniques, and he scored the highest in the third test. It was of no use here. There were many people with better aptitudes than him. The competition was extremely fierce. Everyone wanted to stand out. Regardless of whether there was a reward or not, just the 3-month time limit was like a dagger to their backs. Losing one round was equivalent to losing all 4 rounds. It seems that Lin Feng has aroused their fighting spirit. Lin Lingma's eyes were bright. None of these elites were willing to admit that they were weaker than others. Since Lin Feng could do it, they could do it too. 7 days have passed. I wonder how his learning is going. Lin Lingma was deep in thought. He should have improved a lot. It was more than just a lot. It was not enough to describe it as advancing by leaps and bounds. Before, Lin Feng knew nothing about refining, but now his knowledge was 70% to 80% of Lin Yuma's. It was terrifying. Every day, after 6 hours of teaching, Lin Feng spent the remaining 18 hours in the time engraving array. Sometimes, he would chat with Lin Yuma for a while. Anyway, the total time was fixed, but the allocation was arbitrary. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. After 7 days, Lin Yuma had finished explaining all the theoretical knowledge. In fact, the real refining knowledge would probably be finished in 3 to 4 days. However, Lin Feng was too good at asking why, so he dragged the time by more than twice. From today onwards, learn the basic movements again. Lin Yuma looked at Lin Feng with an indifferent expression. Don't look down on these basic movements. Each movement has a perfect standard, which is different from the outside. What you need to do is to forget everything you have learned before, learn it again, and comprehend it again. Understand? Just like practicing martial arts, what one ponders will always be different from what one's master teaches. Although Lin Yuma and Lin Lingma's teaching methods were different, their goals were the same. The more solid, precise, and standard one grasped the basics, the more complicated refining techniques one would be able to grasp in the future. Just like practicing the spear, the 18 basic spear moves were the most important. If one couldn't even practice the basic spear moves and couldn't reach the standard, how could one practice the more complicated spear moves? The more solid one's foundation was, the easier one's future path would be, and the greater one's achievements would be. Okay, Lin Feng didn't hesitate at all. He had never learned it before, so what was there to forget? Lin Yuma and Lin Lingma were the same. They had seen Lin Feng's video in the 3rd round and had completely misjudged Lin Feng. At that time, Lin Feng had only copied the refining techniques of the bald man. Naturally, he was full of mistakes and was in a complete mess. Do you really understand? Lin Yuma asked again. Lin Feng smiled. We can start now, instructor. Let's start with the basics of fire control. Do you still remember the 3 degrees of flames that I told you about? Lin Yuma looked at Lin Feng and said slowly, yes, intensity, temperature, and density. Lin Feng answered without hesitation. The materials we use for refining are generally divided into 3 categories: ores, crystals, and metals. The corresponding intensity, temperature, and density are all different. To refine, one must first be familiar with the flames and materials. This basic knowledge was already deeply ingrained in his memory. And the illustrated handbook he had read that day had made him completely familiar with the materials. Lin Yuma nodded and said, yes, the apprentices of the Lin clan must remember the degrees of intensity, temperature, and density. Only by deeply ingrained in one's memory can one be able to refine as one pleases and change instantly. For simple refining, changing the degrees of flames may require over 100 times. As for complex refining, in an instant, one may need to change the degrees of flames 100 times. Lin Feng's heart trembled slightly, his eyes flashing. The degrees of intensity, temperature, and density referred to a single flame. In other words, each of the 3 degrees of flames had 100 degrees, and a cluster of flames included the existence of these degrees at the same time. There were a total of 1 million flames that needed to be remembered. It was extremely difficult. Of course, even if one can't remember, they can still refine, but this is the difference between a weapon refiner clan and an ordinary weapon refiner clan. Just this alone is already extremely huge. For example, when refining the same first-grade astral treasure, they can only refine a low-grade quality, while we can refine a high-grade quality. Lin Feng softly grunted in agreement. Details were very important, just like when he condensed the purple net crystal bar just now. Even if there was a slight deviation in the control of the flames, the outcome would be completely different. Lin Longma relied on the memory of the degrees of flames, while he relied on copying, which was a trick. In fact, in the refining just now, the degrees of flames did indeed change a lot. And this was merely the most basic refinement. Don't think that this is difficult. After becoming a human refining master, it's thousands of times harder. Lin Yuma said softly, a human refining master not only needs to control flames, but also needs to control the power of constellations. They need to remember 1,000 to 10,000 degrees of intensity, temperature, and density, far surpassing that of a refining apprentice. Lin Feng nodded lightly. When the flames were multiplied by astral power, the upper limit of the degrees of flames would naturally increase greatly. It was normal for it to be thousands of times harder. However, controlling flames was his forte. If not for astral power, just controlling the flames of rebirth would definitely not be a problem for him. To other martial artists, this threshold was very difficult, but to him, it was definitely not a big problem. Let's go in. There's a special equipment here for testing. Lin Yuma stepped lightly and entered. I'll first explain how to use it and demonstrate once. Okay, Lin Feng replied. The equipment was not complicated. It was mainly the function of some buttons and the operation of the interface. Lin Yuma only introduced it once, but Lin Feng had already memorized it and could operate it skillfully. Soon, he was immersed in it. He focused on cultivating. He'll probably be busy for a while. Lin Yuma smiled slightly. To memorize 1,000,000 types of flames, no matter how good his aptitude is, I'm afraid it'll take him about a year. She had also gone through this stage before, and it had taken her 3 months. Amongst the disciples of the Lin clan, this result absolutely belonged to the category of extremely high-grade natural endowment. No one in this batch of refining apprentices of the same age could compare to her. Lin Yuma looked at Lin Feng, who was gradually getting better in the energy machine. At this time, he was concentrating on memorizing the flame speed of each level. He was very focused. Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flashed. Although they hadn't known each other for long, this Lin Feng, he doesn't seem like a scheming person. He is indeed passionate about the Tao of refining, and he didn't mention a word about inscription formations. Lin Yuma pondered in her heart, but she saw it clearly. With her intelligence, she could naturally see that Lin Feng really wanted to learn refining and not become an inscription master. No matter how deep a person hid, the details of their actions would always reveal something, or he had revealed some clues. Unless he's really too scheming and scheming to fool me. Lin Yuma smiled lightly like a blooming flower. Coupled with her exquisite facial features and flawless skin that was as exquisite as snow, she had an extreme beauty that made the surroundings pale in comparison. She was not only one of the 2 stars of the Lin clan. She was also the most beautiful flower of the Lin clan, the #1 beauty of Shirluo County. Second update. Chapter 766. So advanced. Lin Feng exclaimed. His hands entered the 2 completely sealed round light veils. In an instant, bang, the flames were bright. On the light screen on the right, data flashed. The temperature, intensity, and density of the flames flashed separately and were combined with special symbols and numbers. There are a total of 100 levels, and there are 3 decimal points behind each level. In fact, there are as many as 100,000 levels. Lin Feng nodded and understood. However, refining spirit weapons and spirit treasures doesn't require such careful calculations, and it's much more difficult to advance to the Star Lord level. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, but he understood. According to Lin Yuma, if he added astral power to 3 decimal points, it would be too terrifying. Not many refiners could remember all of them. With my control ability, it's not a problem to remember 100 levels of every level. 1,000 levels is also within my acceptable range, but 10,000 levels is very difficult. The more solid the foundation, the better. Let's begin. On the other side, Lin Feng kept practicing. Outside, Lin Yuma also quickly entered a state of cultivation. With her identity as one of the 2 stars with potential and the rising star that the family focused on cultivating, she could naturally use all kinds of facilities. The time engraving array had no restrictions for Lin Yuma and could be used indefinitely. In the challenge a year later, I'll have to face many warriors who have cultivated for many more years than me. With my strength, it won't be a problem to pass the qualifiers, but the qualifiers, it'll be difficult. Closing her eyes, Lin Yuma's expression was calm. Sees all the time. Every bit of strength increased would increase the chances of success. 3 days later. Lin Yuma looked at Lin Feng in the equipment. At this time, Lin Feng was still the same as 3 days ago. He continued to practice and did not seem to have any intention of coming out. Don't tell me he wants to memorize all the 1 million fire stacks before coming out? Lin Yuma frowned slightly, but she forgot to mention it to Lin Feng when she entered. She looked at him with her beautiful eyes, hesitating whether or not she should remind Lin Feng. Suddenly, she was startled. Wait a minute. It's already reached the 500,000th type of fire? So fast. Lightly covering her mouth, Lin Yuma felt extremely shocked. The speed of his memories was simply too shocking. But this method isn't correct. It's useless to just remember it, Lin Yuma murmured. Remember, application and application are 2 completely different things. Forget it. He probably wants to remember the general feeling first. Use it more precisely. As he pondered in his heart, Lin Yuma immediately turned around and returned. Everyone had their own way of practicing, so she didn't need to interfere with Lin Feng. Anyway, the result would not change. However, Lin Yuma didn't know. Perhaps other martial artists only memorized and couldn't smoothly apply it. But Lin Feng was different. Not only did he have an eidetic memory, but Lin Feng's ability to control fire was also beyond the reach of ordinary people. The fire stacks were also eidetic. The body's memory was incomparably strong. Moreover, Lin Feng's memory was accurate to 1 decimal place. This was the true terror. On the 5th day, 700,000 fire stacks were memorized. On the 6th day, 950,000 fire stacks were memorized. The speed was getting faster and faster. The last 50,000 fire stacks were memorized by Lin Feng almost rapidly, far faster than at the beginning. Practice makes perfect. In fact, the distance and difference between each fire stacks were regular. Slowly fumbling and trying, many techniques were actually derived from the basics. And the basics were even more basic changes. The reason was very simple. Phew, Lin Feng let out a long breath. I finally memorized all 1 million fire stacks. It was indeed not easy. Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully. Looking at the energy device in front of him, he suddenly smiled. To be able to complete the mission in a short period of time, he was also satisfied. Yuma should be talking about this button. It's time to test it. Without hesitation, Lin Feng immediately pressed the button. In an instant, the light screen flashed, and one command after another connected to the circular light shield flashed and lit up. Hua! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Without a moment's pause, he instantly released the fire stacks. Time and accuracy were all in the test. Pa! 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 With each change, the energy device's light screen flashed faster and faster, and Lin Feng's reaction also became faster and faster. The changes of the different fire stacks were all deeply engraved in his mind and accurately displayed with his body. It was like a machine perfectly operating. There was not a single flaw. 2 hours later, ding, a crisp sound rang out. The entire device flashed with a bright luster. Lin Feng stopped what he was doing and looked around curiously. He could not help but smile slightly. According to Yuma's words, this was a celebration of success. Accuracy without error. Time spent, 7,180 seconds. Lin Clan. Beep, beep, beep. A burst of hurried and cheerful sounds rang out. Lin Zhong, who was dealing with work, raised his head. His eyes lit up, and he could not help but smile. Which Earth-level craftsman is so bored as to set a new record on the energy device? As he spoke, his fingers moved quickly, and Lin Zhong quickly pulled up the information. Oh, is it the elementary fire control space on the second floor of the apprentice's workshop? 7,180 seconds, average single-handed control result. Lin Zhong smiled and did not pay too much attention to it. The Lin clan had many elementary fire control spaces, and the records on each energy device were different. Although 7,180 seconds was very high, there were many better results. Turning off the screen, Lin Zhong continued to flip through the books and immerse himself in the mountain of work. As Lin Yan's eldest disciple, he was in charge of most of the sect's craftsman affairs. Not only did he have a high position, but he also had a heavy burden on his shoulders. Swish, swish. The sound of books being flipped could be heard. All of a sudden, that's not right. Lin Zhong raised his head abruptly, stunned. The apprentice's workshop should have activated the Nightmare Fire inscription array. Those who can leave but not enter are inside. Other than Lung Mo and Yuma, the 2 Earth-level craftsmen, the rest are only craftsman apprentices. Oh, Lin Zhong suddenly grinned. Is it Lung Mo or Yuma? The improvement this time is not small. It's rare for Earth-level craftsmen to achieve 7,200 seconds in the elementary fire control space. For Earth-level craftsmen, the result was very ordinary. But for Earth-level craftsmen, it was quite outstanding. Let's see. Lin Zhong's curiosity was immediately piqued. Clap, 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 clap. Lin Zhong's hands quickly tapped on the keyboard, quickly switching to the video. All the energy equipment of the Lin clan was under Lin Zhong's supervision, so it was naturally convenient for him to transfer them. In a split second, the scene in front of him flashed, and a figure instantly appeared. Lin Zhong was dumbfounded. It wasn't Lin Mo or Lin Yuma. Instead, it was a face that was both unfamiliar and familiar. Lin Feng? Lin Zhong was a little confused, unable to recover from his shock. It was completely out of his expectations. Impossible. Oh, that's right. It should be Lung Mo or Yuma who just finished the test. Lin Zhong frowned slightly, nodding thoughtfully. Just now, he was delayed for a while. It was possible that Lin Feng entered during this short period of time. Thinking about it in his heart, he felt that this was the only possibility. But, looking over again, he saw that Lin Feng was in the middle of the test. Lin Zhong couldn't help but look curiously. Huh, 2-handed control. Oh, this Lin Feng isn't simple. Lin Zhong's eyes sparkled as he nodded. 2-handed control was different from single-handed control. The same test meant that one had to do 2 things at the same time. The difficulty increased by more than a few times. But with his skills, it's a little too early. Even a human-level blacksmith might not be able to complete it smoothly, let alone achieve results. Lin Zhong smiled and was about to turn off the screen. But what he saw was that Lin Feng's speed was gradually increasing, as if he was slowly getting used to it. The light screens on the left and right flickered rapidly, the circular light screen constantly changing colors, the flames rising and falling. The frequency was quite fast. Lin Zhong was stunned. What fast speed? Impossible! How is this possible? Looking at all this in a daze, Lin Zhong felt as if his head was exploding. He suddenly remembered that he had set a new record. Instantly, his chest heaved up and down, and a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. In an instant, Lin Zhong was stunned. In the main hall. "Ha! Lai Di, you really can't stay idle." Lin Zhen laughed. "You just came back and you're already busy with this and that." Lam Tok Ti smiled faintly. "I'm born to be busy. I'm young and inexperienced, so I naturally have to make up for it with diligence. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I'll have to give up the position of deputy patriarch after 20 years. At that time, won't I become a big joke?" "How can that be?" Lin Zhen said straightforwardly. "Lai Di, you really like to joke. How can the family lack a capable general like you?" "Yes, Lai Di, you're thinking too much." Lin Yin stroked his long beard and smiled. Lam Tok Ti's eyes lit up. "I'm just being vigilant in times of peace." Lin Jin smiled. "By the way, Lai Di, this time you're going to..." Halfway through his words, Lin Zhen's brows furrowed slightly. A beeping sound could be heard as he opened the star crystal watch. It was the time for a meeting. Unless there was something important, there would be no sound. "Oh!" Lin Zhen's eyes brightened. Something happened. Lam Tok Ti's expression was indifferent. Looking at Lam Tok Ti and Lin Yin, Lin Zhen nodded slowly. "Zhong has a video map. Let's take a look." After saying that, he quickly pressed a few buttons, and the light screen in front of him lit up. In a space that wasn't very big, a young man in black clothes was moving his hands rapidly, flames flickering constantly. The circular light shield and the light screen resonated with each other, as if forming a special frequency, playing a cheerful movement. Lin Zhen, Lam Tok Ti, and Lin Yan's eyes lit up instantly. Others might not be able to see it, but they were all Earth-rank weapon refiners. This kind of fire control, this kind of testing speed was too amazing. "Unbelievable," Lin Yin murmured. Lam Tok Ti's eyes brightened, and he asked in a deep voice, "Who is he?" Taking a deep breath, Lin Jin's expression turned serious, and he slowly said, "This little guy, his name is Lin Feng." Third update. Chapter 767. On the second floor of the apprentice workshop. Huff, puff, even breathing filled the hundredfold time engraving array. A faint silver light fell on Lin Yuma's flawless face, flashing with a sparkling and translucent luster. Her snow-white skin moved gently, bringing about a woman's unique gentleness. "It's about time." Lin Yuma opened her eyes slightly. Her beautiful expression flickered like ripples in water. Lin Yuma ended her cultivation. "I wonder how he is now." Lin Yuma gently stood up. Her posture was filled with a gentle aura. She opened the star crystal watch to check the time, but she suddenly frowned. Lin Yuma was incomparably surprised. "Patriarch, Yin Lao, so many messages. The time is all within this hour? What happened?" Lin Yuma was shocked. Her intuition told her that it must be something serious. Otherwise, with the status of the patriarch, how could he be so anxious? She opened the message. In an instant, Lin Yuma was stunned. Impossible? The first reaction appeared in her mind. But in an instant, Lin Yuma was like a cool breeze, disappearing into the engraving array in the blink of an eye. In the elementary fire control space, Lin Feng's eyes flickered, and her hands danced with fire. Very fast. No, it was quite fast. It was even faster than controlling fire with one hand, because it was familiar. It's this feeling. Actually, if practice makes perfect, it can be even faster. But this is only a test after all. If it's real refining, it's different. Lin Feng pondered, but the movements of her hands didn't slow down at all. The numbers and symbols on the left and right light screens were constantly displayed. A total of 1,000,000 fire blocks were all messed up and appeared in an irregular manner on the two light screens. Compared to the one-handed test, the two-handed test not only required the basic physical memory and reaction speed of fire control, but also required the multitasking to be extremely high. Not to mention the results, many human rank weapon refiners couldn't even complete this test. It was more than 10 times harder than controlling fire with one hand. Hiss! Hiss! The flames rose and fell. Lin Feng's expression was solemn. The faster the speed, the more frequent the numbers displayed on the screen. This time, I should be able to improve quite a bit. To him, there was no difference between two-handed control and one-handed control. He had been used to multitasking since he was young, and this time, because he had tested it with one hand last time, he was more familiar with it, so his speed was naturally much faster. As for making mistakes, was that even possible? He focused all his attention on the test. Lin Feng did not notice that at this time, outside the energy machine, a pair of eyes that were as bright as starlight was completely stunned. Lin Yuma, her beautiful face was filled with disbelief and astonishment. She was not mistaken. How is that possible? He has only been learning for 7 days. And it's not a one-handed test, but a two-handed test, Lin Yuma murmured softly. His eyes widened as if he was afraid that he had seen wrongly. However, the truth was right in front of him. What fast speed, what skillful technique. The speed of his two-handed control is even faster than my one-handed control. How is that possible? Shock. Since young, Lin Yuma had been one of the rising stars of the Lin clan. Among her peers, there was almost no one who could match her. Whether it was practicing martial arts or refining equipment, she was the most outstanding one. In just 3 months, she had passed the one-handed fire control test with excellent results. Her results were enough to be proud of. But now, Lin Feng had only spent 7 days to do it. He had completely surpassed her, and it was a huge leap. Lin Feng had not only completely memorized the Million Flames block, but he had also used the difficult technique of two-handed control. It was simply inconceivable to the extreme. Phoenix Constellation, is he a disciple of the Lin clan? Lam Tok Ti frowned. No, he is not a disciple of the Lin clan. Lin Jin shook his head and denied. He had his suspicions before, but when he heard Lin Yuma tell him about the situation that day, it was Lin Feng himself who denied it. The surname Lin was purely a coincidence. In the Douling world, there were many people with the surname Lin. As for Phoenix Constellation, it was one of the 12 constellations of the South. In the entire southern region, close to 10% of the martial artists had Phoenix Constellation as their natal constellation. What was so strange about it being the same? Furthermore, Lin Jun had already checked on Lin Feng. He was indeed from the Yanling Prefecture in the wilderness. That place was close to the Great Yin Prefecture, and there was no branch of the Lin clan there. Lin Feng's identity was not suspicious. Then he is... Lam Tok Ti's eyes flashed. Lai Di, you just came back, so you're not sure. Lin Yin nodded slowly. This little guy is one of the apprentices that we have called back. Oh. Lam Tok Ti raised his eyebrows. No wonder Master Yin Qing wants to take him in as a successor. Even I am tempted. Lin Yan's eyes flashed as he stroked his long beard. This kind of fire control ability, regardless of whether he is an inscription master or a weapon refiner, he will be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. He has almost perfect potential. Master Yin Qing's successor? Lam Tok Ti was surprised. What is going on? Lin Jin smiled. It's like this, time passed by minute. Lin Feng's test gradually came to an end. Pa! Pa! The 2 clusters of flames in his hands almost instantly stopped falling. Lin Feng's eyes gradually returned to normal. And at this moment, ding! A crisp and pleasant sound rang out. On the screen, a bright luster flashed with a hint of joy. Perfect pass. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. 6,006 seconds, an improvement of 1,000 seconds. Just one more step, and he would be able to squeeze under 6,000 seconds. Lin Feng smiled, but he did not care too much. What was important was that he had now perfectly mastered these 1 million types of fire blocks. This meant that he had successfully passed the first major test of the apprentice level. At this moment, Lin Feng noticed Lin Yuma's existence. Turning his head, he saw Lin Yuma's slightly stunned expression. Lin Feng smiled and immediately pushed the door open. In the main hall, the 3 of them looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with extreme disbelief, and the air seemed to be suffocating in an instant. Lai Di, what is your best result? Lin Jin's voice was low as he spoke. 6,360 seconds. Lam Tok Ti's eyes sparkled. Mine is 6,612 seconds. Lin Jun looked at Lin Yin with an exuberant expression. In the entire Lin clan, Lin Feng's ability to control fire with both hands is only below Yin Lao's. Lin Yin shook his head. That's because he's only a Star Lord. There was silence. The air was heavy and oppressive. Indeed, just as Lin Yin said, Lin Feng was only a Star Lord. Not to mention the ability to control fire with both hands. No one in the entire Lin clan had ever achieved the ability to control fire with one hand, including Lin Yin, a real genius. Lin Jun's eyes flashed. I wonder how his warrior aptitude is, Lam Tok Ti said. Lin Yin nodded. Indeed, merely based on his ability to control fire, Lin Feng was destined to have a boundless future on the path of equipment refinement. As long as his warrior aptitude was good enough and his strength could reach the star domain level, his refining ability would not only enter the category of Earth-level refiners, but also become one of the best. But the premise was loyalty. Lam Tok Ti frowned and said, "Those who aren't of our clan must have different intentions. Indeed, we have to think of a way. It would be a pity to let such a talent go." Lin Jin heaved a long sigh. Gold would shine no matter where it was. The Lin clan wasn't the only one who knew about Lin Feng's talent. Yin Qing also knew. As Lin Feng's strength increased, more and more of his talent would be revealed. If the Lin clan didn't want him, other forces would definitely go crazy for him. Lin Jin nodded and said, "No rush. We still have time to investigate carefully." "Yes, it won't be too late to recruit him then." Lin Yin agreed. Lam Tok Ti didn't say anything. He just looked at the big screen with sparkling eyes. Lin Feng's figure fell into his eyes. Lam Tok Ti's expression wasn't like Lin Jun's or Lin Yan's. Instead, he seemed to be hesitant and inexplicably uneasy. Very similar. Especially that gaze. It was even more similar. Lin Feng. Could it be? Lam Tok Ti bent his right index finger and pressed it against his lips. His brows were tightly knitted. Impossible. You should have died a long time ago. How can there be so many coincidences? Lam Tok Ti thought to himself. However, he recalled the past. He looked at Lin Feng again. His eyes were clear, but no one knew what he was thinking. "Yuma." "Yuma?" Lin Feng called softly. However, she saw that Lin Yuma was like a clay statue, not moving at all. She was puzzled. Lin Yuma murmured softly and came back to her senses. The shock in her heart was indescribable. However, Lin Yuma's expression had returned to normal. At this moment, she finally understood what a true genius was like. 7 days. He reached the level of an apprentice artificer with perfect fire control in just 7 days. Even the Pang family, the #1 artificer family in Shirluo County, and the so-called monstrous genius Pang Yin can't compare to him. Lin Yuma was incomparably shocked. Although she didn't know what the record of the Lin clan was, she was certain that this result was definitely at the level of an epic. "I now understand why Master Yin Qing wanted to take you as a successor." Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes twinkled as she stared at Lin Feng. Her beautiful eyes shone with extreme light. They were filled with curiosity, mystery, and some envy. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Following Lin Yuma's gaze, he slowly glanced back and understood a little. His results this time seemed to be pretty good. However, it was still not enough. Whether it's the strength of an inscription master or an artificer, as long as I perform better, it will be easier for me to enter the Lin clan. At that time, my status will also be higher. Lin Feng pondered for a moment and looked at Lin Yuma with a smile. "I've stopped classes for a few days. It's time to make up for it. Right, instructor?" Lin Feng smiled. "Okay." Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes shone brightly. Fire control was only a part of being an artificer. She also wanted to know how strong Lin Feng's artificer skills were. First update. Chapter 768. Time passed by slowly. The one-on-one tutoring continued. In Lin Yuma's opinion, Lin Feng was only outstanding in fire control and was only average in other aspects. But the facts proved that she was wrong. She was very wrong. Lin Feng met all the basic requirements of a weapon refiner perfectly. He met all the requirements perfectly. As long as she did it once, Lin Feng would be able to do it perfectly and comprehend the principles behind it. Lin Feng still needed 7 days to get used to the basic fire control techniques. But for the other basic techniques, Lin Feng never took more than 2 hours to grasp them. An astonishing and terrifying learning ability. 10 days later, Lin Yuma suddenly realized that Lin Feng had already finished his apprenticeship. She had already taught all the basic knowledge and techniques of a weapon refiner to Lin Feng, and Lin Feng had also mastered them perfectly. Even the student had surpassed the master. And at this moment, on the first floor of the apprentice square, huff, huff, all kinds of flames were constantly emitted. A group of weapon refiner apprentices gritted their teeth and practiced all kinds of basic techniques continuously. With Lin Feng as their target, they chased after him crazily. With unprecedented passion and effort, everyone naturally didn't want to fall behind Lin Feng. This kind of healthy competition made Lin Lingma quite satisfied. However, what they didn't know was that Lin Feng had already left them far behind. On the path of a weapon refiner, if one were to really count, the current them could not even see Lin Feng's back. They were no longer on the same level. Full marks, and full marks again. Looking at the astonishing results one after another, Lin Yuma was speechless. Lin Feng had achieved 10 full marks in the weapon refiner's basic assessment. His impeccable performance only took 16 days, completed the training. An unimaginable result. Say it again. Lin Yuma looked at Lin Feng and extended his index finger. I will only demonstrate this defense-type 7-star spirit treasure soaring flood dragon once. How much you can grasp will depend on your own comprehension ability. Suddenly smiling, Lin Yuma couldn't help but shake his head. Which one of her demonstrations had not been like this? 1-star spirit treasure, 2-star spirit treasure, 3-star spirit treasure. It was the same for 6-star spirit treasures. Every time, Lin Feng was able to refine it perfectly. Until now, he had never made a single mistake. He was so skilled that he didn't seem like an apprentice who had just learned how to refine. Instead, he seemed like a human rank refiner who had experienced countless refinements and was already familiar with the process. It was as if it was effortless for Lin Feng to refine these spirit treasures. Would he fail? A thought popped into Lin Yuma's mind, but he found it funny. We could begin now, instructor. Lin Feng's eyes were shining. He stared at Lin Yuma with bright eyes. He had already finished his preparations. Lin Yuma nodded and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. In a split second, the entire process of refining the defense-type 7-star spirit treasure, soaring flood dragon, appeared in his mind. It was as simple as flowing water, but it was a simulation that refiners often used every time they refined. In his mind, he briefly simulated it in advance. When refining, it would save a lot of trouble and be more stable. Not to mention Lin Yuma. Even Lin Yin, who was now a master refiner, still maintained this good habit. Careful, the pursuit of perfection. Although it wasn't like an inscription master, I had to draw the entire inscription array in one go. But the refining process of a refiner also needed to be very careful. Perhaps a mistake in a step, a deviation in a detail, or even a mistake in the release of the fire block, perhaps it would all be for naught. Why? In a split second, Lin Yuma's eyes lit up. The flames in his hands instantly rose. The refining of the defense-type 7-star spirit treasure, soaring flood dragon began. At the same time, Lin Feng's eyes also flashed brightly. He entered the state of replication. It was different from the previous replication. The current Lin Feng, the replication process was a process of comprehension. Lin Feng was already very familiar with refining weapons, so he could clearly analyze Lin Yuma's every move. Every time she released flames, he knew why she did it, and the principle behind it. Before, it was purely a copy, but now it was a real learning. Although my eyes can be replicated, but the most fundamental condition is based on the fact that I am able to do it. Lin Feng was very clear about this point. It was just like the 2 inscription arrays in the mushroom house. One was the time inscription array with 10 times the rate, and the other was this star gathering inscription array with 2 times the rate. However, he could only replicate the time inscription array with 10 times the rate. It was because the time inscription array contained the Tao of time, which was planned out by the power of the inscription master in a specific pattern and trajectory. It was just like painting a painting where the method of painting could be replicated and the artistic conception of the painting could be comprehended by himself. However, the star gathering inscription array with 2 times the rate was different. He could not comprehend the artistic conception of the painting. It was the same for weapon refinement masters. If he comprehended the essence of weapon refinement, he might be able to replicate the refinement of various spirit weapons and treasures. But so what if it was on a higher level? The Tao of weapon refinement was a Tao. According to Yuma, this Tao really existed in the star techniques of the Phoenix constellation. It was just like the cultivation of star techniques, where one comprehended the power of the constellation and the Tao of the constellation. Replication only provided him with a better and more direct cultivation state, but it did not mean that he could use it as he wished, especially when he did not have enough power. Time passed quickly. Lin Yuma's refinement was already coming to an end. The refinement of astral treasures and astral weapons was the most complicated and meticulous, but it also took the fastest time to refine. It was the same for spirit treasures. Within 15 minutes, Lin Yuma was already done. Pung! As the last beast crystal and the spirit treasure merged into one, there seemed to be a ray of light in the void, and a majestic dragon soared into the sky with a clear outline. The entire dragon body was visible, and it was extremely domineering, making one look at it. Artifact image. The image of the artifact spirit. It was meant to be an artifact. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes regained their luster. The memory in his mind was extremely clear, and he had a deep understanding of every step. It's not difficult. It's just a few more steps than the 6-star spirit treasure just now. Lin Feng smiled faintly, knowing what to do. He was no longer the newbie who could only imitate during the assessment. He had mastered all the basic techniques of weapon refinement and had no problem refining such an ordinary spirit treasure. However, Yuma, during the first step, shape, will the density of the second fire block be higher by 1 level? Lin Feng asked as the entire scene flashed in his mind. Lin Yuma's beautiful face blushed, but it was because of her low-level mistake just now. Humans were not machines. Even Earth-rank weapon refiners would make mistakes, let alone Lin Yuma, who was still young. Although the defensive 7-star spirit treasure, Ascending Dragon, was not difficult to refine, Lin Yuma had not refined Ascending Dragon for a long time. Most importantly, just now, she was distracted. Yes, I made a mistake, Lin Yuma said calmly. She was not bashful. If she made a mistake, she had to admit it. Naturally, she was not that petty. Lin Feng nodded lightly, his eyes flashing. The scene of Lin Yuma's refinement appeared in his mind. The rhythm was clear and natural. Only the pause during shape disrupted the original rhythm. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for him to notice it. After all, it was just a small flaw that did not affect the overall refinement. For example, the flame density just now was most suitable for 677 degrees. In weapon refinement, the 6th degree was usually used, but Yuma used the 5th degree just now, and the effect was similar. Otherwise, the final shape would not be of superior quality. The quality of the shape could be distinguished from the clarity and fuzziness of the shape. The 7-star defensive spirit treasure, Ascending Dragon, was divided into low level, middle level, superior level, and top level. If it was blurry, it would be low level. If it was hazy, it would be middle level. However, Yuma's shape just now had a clear outline, and the general structure could be seen clearly. It had a very imposing aura and was considered superior. As for the top level, the shape was extremely clear. The scales on the flood dragon's body were incomparably bright, but it was extremely difficult to achieve. Whoosh! The scene just now replayed in his mind. Lin Feng quickly entered his own state. The entire process of duplication, every fire block, every change in rhythm, and every detail was imprinted in his mind. Smelt the weapon first. Shape it again. Then, Lin Feng was not only repeating the entire scene, but his hand were also changing the shape and simulating it completely. Lin Feng comprehended it step by step. Now, he had already gotten rid of the ability to copy. He had truly learned it in his body and grasped the essence of it. It was a technique that belonged to him. Perhaps there was no difference between the two now, but what about in the future? Duplication was equivalent to walking the path that others had walked. However, comprehension could allow one to innovate and take new steps on the basis of duplication. It was just like the 7 wooden sculptures in Yinling Manor. If it was purely duplication, the strongest move in the end would only be the 7th move, Green Smoke Spear Art. However, he had created the 8th move, Yinling Spear Art. This was the difference. Looking at Lin Feng, Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes lit up. Her exquisite face was filled with curiosity as she stared at her apprentice. It was true that the student had surpassed the master. She had never seen the refinement of the defensive 7-star spirit treasure, Soaring Dragon, but he could see through the only flaw in her entire refinement process at a glance. That flaw was so small that it was almost negligible. What kind of eyesight and skill was this? Lin Feng's foundation in refining was already as stable as a rock. Compared to her, he was even better. It's only been half a month. This progress is too fast. Lin Yuma shook her head gently. She had personally witnessed Lin Feng's progress step by step from not knowing anything to being an apprentice refiner. Lin Feng was even worthy of the title of master. The future is limitless. Lin Yuma sighed slightly. For the first time, she admired someone from the bottom of her heart. Second update. Chapter 769. Again and again. One round after another. Lin Feng patiently simulated in his mind. Using copy to simulate, his body seemed to be one with Yuma's light and shadow. In the image, it was as if he was refining on the spot. Every time the flame was released, every time the rhythm changed, he was familiar with it in his heart, as if he was personally experiencing it. It was real, his body was constantly remembering. In his mind, he was constantly comprehending. 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Other people might need to practice refining thousands of times, but Lin Feng, but not. Just the copy simulation in his mind was equivalent to the body's memory. Star Sky pupils, as expected of a first-grade pupil. The performance of the ability is indeed extraordinary. Phew, Lin Feng lightly exhaled. After finishing another round of simulation refining, he immediately opened his eyes. In front of him, Lin Yuma had already placed all the materials needed for refining in front of him. Slim and elegant, she stood quietly at the side, not saying a word. She was just waiting patiently. Let's begin. Lin Feng's eyes instantly lit up. Without any hesitation, he simulated it countless times in his mind. He was already familiar with it. His body, as if it had a strong memory, instantly spurted out flames. Bang! The rebirth flame was strong. The strong aura wrapped around a small piece of dragon branding crystal. The strong flame started the weapon smelting rhythm. At the same time, the rebirth flame in his left hand appeared without any pause. It was extremely fast. The light of the flame was slightly weaker, and it wrapped around another piece of gypsum iron. Lin Yuma's expression changed slightly. It's a little faster. Lightly pursing her cherry lips, Lin Yuma was puzzled. Lin Feng, did he make a mistake? Or did she make a mistake when she performed it just now? This thought appeared in his mind, and Lin Yuma couldn't help but smile sweetly. Lin Feng's speed has indeed increased. Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes lit up as she made an accurate judgment. The reason why she had such a thought just now was because she doubted the skill she had grasped. It was only because in her heart, she already believed that Lin Feng's refining skills were better than hers. In terms of basic refining techniques, this was indeed true. She would not deceive herself. However, it doesn't seem like he would make such a mistake, Lin Yuma murmured. With some doubts in his heart, Lin Yuma glanced over again. It was very fast. His refining speed was even faster than Lin Yuma's. Lin Feng would not make such a mistake. Increase the tempo by 20%. Actually, there are many similarities between weapon refinement and inscription formations. One of them is, this is the rhythm. Flames began to form in his hands. Lin Feng's speed was extremely fast, but his heart was abnormally calm, and his eyes were shining. This time, he had completely gotten rid of the duplication. This was a challenge and innovation of his own. It was a new attempt to test the ideas in his heart. The rhythm of refining should be able to change. It was not the rhythm of an individual, but the overall rhythm. In an instant, two crisp sounds rang out. The Dragonbrand crystal and the gypsum iron began to melt at the same time, without any error. Lin Feng's calculation of the time difference was flawless. There was no flaw in his coordination, as if he had already calculated it thousands of times in his heart. This is it. Very good. Lin Feng's eyes were shining brightly, and he was extremely excited. This was the first time that he had truly refined a weapon that belonged entirely to him. Lin Yuma covered her mouth in shock. Her beautiful eyes were filled with extreme disbelief. She was so stunned that she could not speak. Looking at everything in front of her, she felt a sense of loss. The path of refining that she had always insisted on. At this moment, everything fell apart. This is also possible. It's true. At this moment, Lin Yuma felt as if she had returned to her teenage years, to the time when she had just started learning how to refine weapons in the apprentice square. She clearly remembered every word and every sentence her teacher had said to her. She had also perfectly carried out each and every one of the refinements time and time again. Perfect, precise. This was her path of refining weapons. However, Lin Feng's performance in front of her had shattered her original beliefs. Previously, she was like a frog in a well, looking at the sky. Now, she had jumped out of the well and looked at the boundless sky. It turned out that the path of refining weapons did not pursue rigid perfection. It was innovation. The fire block is not unchanging. The steps of refining weapons are not completely rigid. Lin Feng pondered for a moment and accelerated the fire block again. He was already familiar with the control of flames. After thousands of simulations in his mind, he had divided the entire process into countless small steps and had a deep understanding and mastery of it. With the technique of controlling flames and his familiarity with the materials, Lin Feng quickly grasped the rules. What was the point of speeding up? Lin Feng did not know. It was purely for the sake of experimentation. It was like innovating and researching a new spear move. If he did not try, how would he know if he would succeed? This was a process of seeking change. If he tried, he might not succeed. But if he did not try, he would definitely fail. Yes, the last material, Mingho, the Dragonbrand crystal, and the gypsum iron have already fused. If it can completely solidify with Mingho, the first step, weapon smelting, will be considered a success. As he thought to himself, Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Flames burst forth in an instant. As the Dragonbrand crystal and the gypsum iron fused, the solidification of the Mingho accelerated. Seeing that the weapon smelting was about to be completed, suddenly, pong, they repelled each other. Failure. Hua. The flames were extinguished in an instant. Looking at the still warm fusion crystal and the Mingho in his hand, it was as if two different entities had failed to complete the fusion. Lin Feng frowned slightly, revealing a puzzled expression. The entire process was flawless. He had a perfect grasp of the frequency, the fire block, and every other detail, but why did it fail? Because the Dragonbrand crystal and the gypsum iron fused too quickly. Not far away, Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes glistened as she spoke slowly. Lin Feng turned to look at Yuma and smiled. I'm sorry, Yuma. It was a sudden idea that he had changed the refining process on a whim just now. Lin Yuma smiled and shook her head. It's okay, you've helped me a lot. For a long time, he had been trapped in the path of being a weapon refiner, and his improvement had been extremely slow. At this moment, because of Lin Feng, Yuma finally realized what he lacked: innovation. The comprehension of star techniques was not rigid and rigid. Perhaps, according to the methods and experiences left behind by the clan, he had indeed taken a shortcut. However, according to others' methods, he had taken a longer path. If it was a martial artist with mediocre qualifications, the advantages of this method outweighed the disadvantages. However, for a martial artist with outstanding qualifications, it was a process where the disadvantages outweighed the advantages. Thank you very much. Lin Yuma smiled and was in a good mood. Because of Lin Feng, the problem that had puzzled her for a long time was finally solved. Sometimes it seemed like a shortcut, but in fact it was not. Huh? Lin Feng was slightly surprised, but he did not understand why. Looking at Lin Yuma, he had never seen such an expression on her face before. It was as if she had figured something out and was suddenly enlightened. The characteristics of Mingho are different from the Dragonbrand crystal and the gypsum iron. It is a slow crystal. Lin Yuma's voice was clear. The strength and density can be increased, but the temperature can't. In order for it to react with the synthetic crystal, there needs to be a point of balance between the two. Just now, both of these were not achieved. Lin Feng nodded in realization. It was true that it was not so easy to change a refining model that had been established for a long time. There were many problems that he did not expect. I see. Lin Feng was deep in thought and asked, which mode should the fire be adjusted to? Also, how should the time be adjusted? 3 seconds earlier, Lin Yuma whispered. Then, the two of them were soon immersed in the innovation of refining. One of them had rich refining experience and a deep understanding of various materials. The other had a solid foundation, and her on-the-spot reaction was even more outstanding. With the ultimate fire control technique, it was most suitable for the new refining of refining. They kept trying and experimenting. Over and over again, they learned from their failures. The more they fought, the braver they became. Each of them expressed their own opinions. They had long forgotten the identity of instructor and apprentice. Now, the two of them were like refiners of the same level, discussing and exchanging refining experiences. Time passed quickly. They were immersed in refining, pondering, and thinking from time to time. In the blink of an eye, a day and a night had passed. One step after another was simplified and even changed. This was a new attempt, an innovation that had never been done before. Only one step left. Lin Yuma pursed her cherry lips, her beautiful eyes shining. Her chest kept rising and falling. As Lin Feng continued refining, she was more nervous than when she was refining by herself. After countless failures, they were only one step away from the final success. Combine! Lin Feng shouted suddenly. The flames were spurting out to the extreme, like a dragon soaring. The fusion of the strange beast crystal and the spiritual treasure seemed to give the power of life. A bright light appeared in the void. In the void, there seemed to be a flood dragon soaring to the sky. Its aura was wild and fierce, and its vague figure was even more majestic. The image appeared. The defensive 7-star spiritual treasure, soaring flood dragon, was completed. However, Lin Feng and Lin Yuma looked at each other with surprise and disappointment. Although the image was slightly different, it had changed from bad to good. It had changed from high quality to medium quality. The innovation seemed to have failed. Oh! Lin Feng frowned. Holding the spiritual treasure soaring flood dragon in his hand, he sighed softly. Don't worry. Lin Yuma smiled calmly. It's just a failure. Maybe we thought of a few steps wrongly, or... She comforted Lin Feng carefully. Lin Yuma had already prepared herself for failure. Innovation. How could it be so simple? Lin Feng might not know, but she was a human rank weapon refiner. She knew very well. To successfully refine a brand new astral treasure, one had to go through many failures. Lin Feng? Lin Yuma saw that Lin Feng still had no reaction and frowned. The Lin Feng she knew wasn't someone who could be easily defeated. How could he? No, Yuma. Lin Feng turned his head, his eyes flashing. We might not have failed. Third update. Chapter 770. Lin Yuma took the spirit treasure, Soaring Dragon. There was still some warmth in his hand, and it gave him a different feeling. Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes suddenly brightened. He took out the spirit treasure, Soaring Dragon, that he had refined and compared the two. Can you feel it? Lin Feng smiled. His heartbeat quickened. Lin Yuma looked at the two spirit treasures, Soaring Dragon, in his hand. Just the appearance alone was already very different. One was darker in color, the other was lighter in color. One was wider in shape, while the other was more refined, especially the ripples on the surface. The one that Lin Feng had refined, it was clearer and more powerful. It was like a real flood dragon. Most importantly, the two spirit treasures, Soaring Dragon, had different auras. Wah! Lin Yuma immediately activated the spirit treasure, Soaring Dragon. The sound of a flood dragon rising could be heard, crisp and clear. Around his body, a bright light formed, incomparably bright. The extreme color accompanied the deep ripples. Flood dragons appeared one after another, giving off a completely different feeling. It's real. It's really an 8-star spirit treasure. Lin Yuma couldn't believe it. What a strong defensive aura. Four eyes looked at each other. From each other's eyes, they could see wild joy and incomparable excitement. They had refined a 7-star spirit treasure in a completely innovative way. It had become an 8-star spirit treasure. It was too magical. Success. For palms collided. Lin Feng and Lin Yuma were extremely happy. This feeling was indescribable. Their emotions were surging, and they were filled with a sense of accomplishment. Although the quality had dropped by a level, it was still an 8-star spirit treasure. It completely surpassed the 7-star spirit treasure by an entire level. It was only the first refinement, the first innovation, and they had achieved such success. How could they not be excited and happy? If the refinement method is written into a refining guidebook and given to the family, Lin Yuma covered his mouth, extremely happy. This was an 8-star spirit treasure. Its value was completely different from a 7-star spirit treasure. Suddenly, Lin Yuma was startled and shook his head. What's wrong, Yuma? Lin Feng asked curiously. Although I was the one who refined it, we discussed all the details in detail. You should know very well that it's impossible that you didn't write a refining guide, right? Lin Feng, you are not a member of the Lin clan. Lin Yuma shook his head. If I do this, it will be unfair to you. Lin Feng smiled. He naturally understood Yuma's concerns. The same set of refining guidebooks would have completely different effects in the hands of a family or an individual. Take it, consider my tuition fee. Lin Feng smiled. I don't need this refining guidebook. Staring at Lin Feng, Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flickered. Although the value of a defensive-type spirit treasure is not high, it is still an 8-star spirit treasure's refining guidebook. Moreover, it is a unique existence in the entire Vermilion Bird Continent. Lin Feng, do you know how much it is worth? Lin Feng smiled. I remember Yuma said that an 8-star spirit treasure's value is about 10 million soul spirit coins, determined by the price of the refinement materials. It was slightly cheaper than the Yanling Prefecture. After all, there were many refiners in the 9 continents. Naturally, there were many spirit treasures that could be refined. The price of a spirit treasure depended more on the refinement materials. The refining guidebook is different. Lin Yuma said softly. With the refining guidebook, a refiner family can produce 8-star spirit treasures in large quantities. As long as there are enough materials, the profits will be endless. Moreover, Lin Feng, you have forgotten an important thing. Lin Feng was surprised. He was also curious. Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flashed. It is refined from 7-star spirit treasure materials. The profits are quite high. Then can't we sell it at a low price and occupy the 8-star spirit treasure market? Lin Feng instantly reacted. The 9 continents were, after all, different from the Yanling Prefecture. There were very few refiner apprentices in the Yanling prefecture. However, in the 9 continents, human rank refiners could be found everywhere. That won't do. Lin Yuma smiled and shook her head. This brand new soaring dragon has too high a requirement for the refiner's foundation. Refiner apprentices can't master it all. Even human rank refiners would find it difficult to master it. Lin Feng nodded and instantly understood. Indeed, because of the constant refinement of steps, the difficulty for refiners was constantly increasing. How could it be so easy to refine? However, an 8-star spirit treasure's price is about the same as a 9-star spirit treasure. The profits are even higher. Lin Yuma smiled. If it was written as a refiner's guide and auctioned, the price should be a few billion soul coins. Unfortunately, it is only of the defensive type and only of the medium quality. Lin Yuma said softly. Both would reduce the value by a lot, especially the latter. A perfect refinement would only be of the medium quality. If it was not perfect, wouldn't it only be of the low quality? However, the specific value would only be known after it was appraised. No, it should be of the high quality. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Lin Yuma was surprised. I thought for a long time, just now, and finally thought of the most important point. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. The entire refinement process was refined and meticulous. There should be no room for mistakes. Only the final transformation of the 7-star spirit treasure into an 8-star spirit treasure was unexpected, and this is where the mistake was. Their eyes met. Lin Yuma instantly covered her mouth. I understand. It's a mutated beast crystal. Yes. Lin Feng nodded. In the end, we should use an 8-star mutated beast crystal, not a 7-star one. The most important point. The difference of 1 star in the mutated beast crystal was enough to determine the final quality of the spirit treasure. Let me try. Lin Yuma was eager to try. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. An hour later. Bang! Precise fusion. After 2 failures, Lin Yuma finally grasped the trick and succeeded in refining. This time, he could clearly see the dragon soaring. It was majestic and domineering, especially that pair of dragon eyes that were even more bright and full of spirit, making people shudder. The image of an 8-star spirit treasure was much stronger than that of a 7-star spirit treasure. Lin Yuma clenched her fists excitedly. A great success. If Lin Feng's first successful refinement was to establish the foundation, then this time it was perfect. The real blacksmith's guidebook, according to the precise and perfect refinement written in the book, would definitely be of superior quality. I will immediately write the blacksmith's guidebook. Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flickered, and she was extremely excited. Superior quality, in addition to the uniqueness of this 8-star spirit treasure, the price will be set at 10 billion Dolan coins. After careful evaluation, I believe the family will not treat you badly. Lin Yuma knew very well that the key point was not this blacksmith's guidebook. What she wanted to tell the family was that she had discovered a truly rare talent. Compared to the so-called monstrous genius of the Pang family, Pang Yin, this person's potential was even more terrifying. Lin Feng, a young warrior from the desolate land. Okay, Lin Feng smiled slightly. Looking at Lin Yuma, who was writing rapidly as if she was afraid of forgetting, Lin Feng's eyes flickered. He naturally knew the value of this 8-star spirit treasure blacksmith's guidebook. In the 9 provinces, the value of an 8-star spirit treasure was equivalent to a grade 9 astral treasure. Because the 9-star spirit treasure blacksmith's guidebook was extremely rare, and there weren't many of them in the entire Vermilion Bird continent, 8-star spirit treasures were naturally important. However, this was a key. It was the best key for him to enter the Lin clan. The benefits he could obtain were secondary. He believed that after reading this blacksmith's guidebook, he would be able to advance his goal by a lot. Lin clan. Lin Kuei. Lam Tok Ti said slowly, "Have you found anything?" "Master, there is nothing suspicious." Lin Kuei bowed respectfully. This person called Lin Feng came from the Yanling prefecture. Speaking of which, This Lin Feng is very famous in the Yanling Prefecture and is known as the strongest person in the prefecture. He has even killed a Star Lord wizard. Oh, Lam Tok T's eyes glittered. Here is a video. Master, please take a look. Lin Lao pressed a few buttons. In an instant, the video of the battle between Lin Feng and the Star Lord wizard was shown on the screen. It was the video that had been widely circulated in the Yanling Prefecture. Lin Kuei played with the thumb ring in his hand and looked at it with interest. Suddenly, father, a blue figure suddenly appeared. A short-haired young man walked in with a smile. He had bronze skin, a thin face, and a sharp chin. Together with his perfect body, he was extremely handsome. His eyes were sharp. He was one of the two rising stars of the Lin clan, Lin Fan, who was as famous as Lin Yuma. Wow, what's this? Lin Fan looked at the screen curiously. Wow, it's the wizard race. Dad, this monster should be the dark underworld wizard you mentioned, right? Lin Fan said excitedly, then frowned. But why is he so weak? He hasn't developed his intelligence, so of course he's weak. Lin Quan gently moved his thumb ring and said indifferently, "These sorcerer tribe members outside the sorcerer tribe are like savages. Very few of them have outstanding strength. Only after reaching the Star Lord level and slowly maturing their intelligence will they become stronger." I see. Lin Fan nodded thoughtfully. Lam Tok T pointed at Lin Feng on the screen and said indifferently, "By the way, Fan, what do you think of him?" Him? Lin Fan was dazed for a moment, then he smiled. "Dad, didn't you say that everyone below the Star Lord level is an ant? Since when do you care about ants like him?" "An ant?" Lam Tok T smiled. "Maybe he's a very special ant. No matter how special he is, he's still an ant." Lin Fan proudly lifted his head, glancing at Lin Feng on the light screen. A disdainful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Such a weak ant. I don't even need to use one move to crush him." He wasn't bragging. With Lin Fan's power, he indeed had the qualification to do so. A peak star sea-level existence was indeed an ant to him. Pa, turning off the screen, Lin Quan slowly closed his eyes and muttered, "I guess I'm just being paranoid." "What did you say, Dad?" Lin Fan was surprised. "Nothing. Let's go." Lam Tok T stood up, his eyes shining. "How's your practice of the white Mu pupil I taught you last time?" "My strength has improved greatly, Dad," Lin Fan said happily. "Hurry up and teach me the next level." "Okay, let's go." Continue with the fourth update. Chapter 771. The Lin Clan, the Main Hall. The Rising Star Artificers competition is about to begin. Has the clan leader decided on a candidate? Lin Yin asked casually. Shaking his head, Lin Zhun said no. "Actually, I'm going to give up. In Shiluo County, with the monstrous genius of the Pang family, Pang Yin, we're destined to be a supporting character. Then, we'll have to compete with the other 8 genius artificers of the Vermilion Bird Continent. We have no chance of winning. Old Yin, you know that in terms of artificing ability, Shiluo County is only average among the 9 major counties of the Vermilion Bird Continent." Indeed, Lin Yin laughed heartily. "If it weren't for my extraordinary performance last time, I wouldn't have been able to get 10th place at all. Haha, luck is also a part of strength." Lin Zhen laughed heartily and nodded. Actually, in Shiluo County, the Lin clan's reputation as an artificer is enough. It doesn't matter whether we participate or not. But in terms of clan strength, the Lin clan has always been too mediocre. We can't even rank in the top 100 of Shiluo County. Not to mention the 9 districts. Even the 99 Central District, the Lin clan, is at the bottom. Lin Yin stroked his long beard and muttered. So the clan leader is thinking of... Lin Zhun's eyes slowly glittered. Next year will be the Vermilion Bird Challenge match, which is held once every 100 years. It is a great opportunity. Therefore, I plan to abandon the Star of Refiners and concentrate all my strength on the Vermilion Bird Challenge match. Also, I've heard that this year's Vermilion Bird Challenge will be different from the past. Lin Yan's eyebrows flashed. I've heard that too. While they were chatting, suddenly, beep, 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 the star crystal began to vibrate. Lin Zhun looked to his left, his eyes flashing. He smiled. "It's Yuma." It seems there's some good news, old Yen. Beep, beep, beep. He pressed a few buttons, and in an instant, the enormous screen in front of the main hall flashed, revealing a clear image. Lin Yuma's hands were burning with flames, reflecting his snow-white skin, and he was completely focused on refining. Lin Jun and Lin Yin looked at each other in confusion. However, the two of them soon discovered something strange. What a fast refining technique and rhythm. Lin Jun was slightly surprised. It's the refinement of the 7-star spirit treasure, ascending WIRM. No, it's changed a lot. Lin Yin stroked his beard, his eyes flashing. In terms of refinement of astral treasures and astral tools, in terms of tool refinement knowledge, no one in the entire Lin clan could surpass him. Lin Yin had a rough idea just by looking at the beginning. The more he looked, the more shocked he became. In the end, both of them held their breaths. Watching Lin Yuma's precise and flawless craftsmanship, he displayed the entire process perfectly. The two master refiners were extremely satisfied. Yuma was indeed worthy of being the strongest refiner among the younger generation. And in the end, 8-star strange beast crystal, Lin Yan's eyes lit up. Oh! Lin Jun's expression changed. Bang! As the clear outline of the celestial body appeared in the video, the hearts of the two trembled violently. A flood dragon rose into the air, mighty and domineering. Especially its pair of dragon eyes. They were filled with a fierce light that caused others to tremble in fear. The aura was completely different. What do you mean? Lin Jun was confused. Although the refinement, rhythm, and changes had been changed, but what was the point? Lin Yin put his hand to his nose, and his eyes kept changing. In his mind, the entire process of Lin Yuma's refinement appeared, and then the insertion of the 8-star strange beast crystal at the end. The whole process had an indescribable feeling, but he couldn't figure out what was wrong. What was the point of Lin Yuma sending this video? Was it purely to show off? Yuma was obviously not that kind of person. At this moment, a bright light flashed. Lin Yuma activated the use of the spirit treasure. The sound of a WIRM rising was crisp and clear. A light shadow formed around his body, extremely bright and resplendent. The extreme color was accompanied by deep ripples. WIRMs appeared one after another, giving off a completely different feeling. What a strong defensive aura, Lin Jun said in surprise. Boom! Lin Yan's head instantly exploded. The moment he saw the spiritual treasure, all of his confusion vanished into thin air. He completely understood. 8-star spirit treasure. Lin Yan's old face lit up, and he was overjoyed. Yuma, this child, actually upgraded the 7-star spirit treasure, WIRM, rising by 1 star. Suddenly shaking his head, Lin Yan's eyes flashed. No, this is a brand new 8-star spirit treasure. Lin Jun also reacted at this moment and laughed heartily. At this moment, outside, there was the sound of something breaking through the air. Clan leader, master. Lin Zhong hurried over, looking excited. Just as he was about to speak, he saw Lin Jun and Lin Yan's expressions. He was stunned and looked at the huge light screen. Lin Zhong immediately understood and excitedly handed over the book in his hand. This is the crafting guide that Yuma asked me to send over. Oh, Lin Yan's eyes lit up, and he immediately took it. Page by page, he quickly flipped through the weapon forging guidebook. Sure enough, Lin Yan closed the book, looked at Lin Jun, and nodded. Both of them were delighted. Zhong, did this child Yuma say anything else? Lin Yan smiled kindly, but he was in a good mood. Lin Zhong looked hesitant. Lin Jun's eyes brightened. Just say it. I don't know if I heard wrong, but Yuma did say that. Lin Zhong swallowed his saliva, and his gaze changed. She said that this crafting guide was written by Lin Feng, and she was the one who made the breakthrough first. It was Lin Feng. The last 3 words were as heavy as 1,000 pounds. Lin Jun and Lin Yan's expressions changed drastically, and they looked at each other. This? Lin Jun frowned. That's impossible, right? Lin Yan also couldn't react. Lin Jin looked at Lin Zhong. Lin Feng has only been in the apprentice square for 17 days, and he should still be studying. How could? That's not the case. Lin Zhong's eyes shone, and his expression was serious. According to Yuma, Lin Feng passed the apprentice square's training yesterday with full marks in 10 basic assessments and outstanding performance in 3 practical assessments. He passed the training with perfect results. What? This time, Lin Jun and Lin Yan were shocked beyond words. 16 days, 100% perfect results. Passed the apprentice square's training, and he even created a new 8-star spirit treasure and successfully refined it. Who exactly was this Lin Feng? On the first floor of the apprentice square. Tisk. All the blacksmith apprentices were focused, and they practiced diligently. As an instructor, Lin Lungma crossed her arms in front of her chest, and her gaze was cold as she looked ahead. She was very responsible. At this moment, beep, beep, the star crystal watch vibrated gently. Lin Lingma opened the message and glanced at it casually. Suddenly, her iceberg-like face changed greatly. What? Lin Feng passed the apprentice square's training. Lin Lingma was extremely shocked. How is that possible? It hasn't even been 20 days. Lin Lingma was completely dumbfounded. On the second floor, huff, in the 100-fold time engraving array, Lin Feng looked calm. Faint starlight gathered around his body, and the red light shone brightly. Every breath he took could bring about a change in energy. Absorbing the power of the constellation, the main star in Lin Feng's life soul continued to strengthen, enriching the initial starry sky in the life soul. Absorb again. Converting into the energy of the main star, it was easy for the life soul to control it. After reaching the second stage of the star cultivation realm, there was no bottleneck to the second stage of the Star Lord realm. All Lin Feng had to do was persevere in cultivation. Cultivation wasn't complicated. It was like meditating. It was much simpler than comprehending star techniques. At this moment, Lin Feng's main life soul was cultivating the rebirth fire in the extreme road Phoenix realm. It wasn't difficult to multitask. As long as the secondary life soul was slightly controlled, it could enter a state of self-absorption, and the escape of the main life soul wouldn't be affected. In the Phoenix constellation, the 7 main stars shone strangely, and the power of the constellation was constantly being absorbed. Light blossomed, incomparably bright, especially on the 1st and 5th main stars. The 5th main star is a control-type star. Because I've comprehended the firewall technique and reached the second stage of the star cultivation realm, the constellation sensitivity of this control-type star has doubled. But why did the 1st main star improve inexplicably? Lin Feng was very curious, but he didn't understand. The power of the constellation absorbed by his body was indeed the accumulation of the 7 main stars and couldn't be accurately distinguished. However, he could still distinguish the difference between double and double for a single main star. When the 1st main star was only at the 1st stage of the star cultivation realm, it was similar to the other main stars, but now, like the 5th main star, it was better than the other main stars. However, he had never cultivated or comprehended any star techniques of the special series. It's indeed strange. Lin Feng was secretly puzzled. He already knew a lot about the Star Lord level. The improvement of star cultivation was the improvement of the main star, and the improvement of strength was the sublimation of the entire Phoenix constellation. The comprehension of star techniques was relative to a single main star. In fact, in the Douling world, every star technique would be labeled with star power value. Star power value would play a huge role in the improvement of star cultivation in the future. For example, the star power value of one star was 1 to 10 points. Among them, 0 to 2 points of star power was the lowest level star, and it was also the easiest level star to sense. For example, the first level of the firewall technique was 0, 8 points of star power. In order to reach the 3rd stage of the star cultivation realm, all the star techniques comprehended had to be accumulated to 3 points of star power. In the Star Lord level, The most difficult thing is not to absorb and cultivate the power of the constellation, but to comprehend the star techniques. When I reach the second stage of the Star Lord level, the constellation sensitivity of my 7 main stars will all be doubled. By then, it will undoubtedly be half the result with twice the effort. Lin Feng was very clear about the path in front of him. Although the main star of special star techniques was a bit strange, the change was beneficial to him. But now, they should be a little anxious. Lin Feng smirked slightly and thought to himself, "Update, I've been having a headache all day. I hope I can last until the third update." Chapter 772. It wasn't difficult to go from level 1 to level 2 Star-Lord. With Lin Feng's star constellation sensitivity, the 7 main stars absorbed the power at the same time, and 2 of them even doubled the speed. Naturally, his cultivation speed was fast. The real difficulty came later. From level 2 to level 3, and from level 3 to level 4, the star constellation power required was 10 times more. Even though as his strength increased, his constellation perception would also continue to increase. But to catch up to an increase of 10 times was like the difference between a grain of sand and gold. It was simply incomparable. But at least for now, his cultivation speed was still fast. Besides, he was still in the time engraving formation with a 100-fold increase. It was undoubtedly twice the result with half the effort. Whoosh! The star ring and the main star with full star power combined. A huge vibration was condensed, and the star ring burst into extreme light like a broken star. At the same time, the light of the main star merged, as if opening up the original sky. The remaining light of the star ring quickly expanded, radiating the original territory like ripples, one circle, another circle. It was extremely fast and domineering. This extremely powerful energy divided the original sky, greatly increasing the occupancy of the main star for the first time. It increased by 10 times. Boom! It expanded violently. The main star, which used to be filled with red light, was now empty. The stored star constellation power disappeared along with the star ring, and a huge space was opened up, greatly increasing the area of the main star. It slowly shone, and the color of the main star became clearer and denser. Lin Feng was even more shocked. What a strong power! What a magical star constellation sensitivity! Lin Feng murmured and entered the main star effortlessly. In an instant, he came to the familiar sky of the Phoenix constellation. The 7 main stars in front of him were much brighter, and even the small stars around them were shining brightly. The increase in strength meant that everything was sublimated. However, this was only the improvement of the life soul. Indeed, after reaching the Star Lord level, the improvement of the body has reached a critical point. It won't advance with the increase in strength. Humans are indeed inferior to the Magi in this regard. Lin Feng slowly opened his eyes and thought. If the cosmic river and cosmic sea states focused on the improvement of the body, then the cosmic lord and cosmic realm states focused on the improvement of the soul. One's body could only be improved from the cosmic lord level to the cosmic realm level, or from the cosmic realm level to the saint level. Of course, there were other methods such as consuming star fruits, star pills, heavenly treasures, comprehending star techniques, and so on. Wearing star armor would greatly increase one's defensive power. No matter which one it is, it's all related to the foundation of the body. No wonder so many Empyrean martial artists who walk the path of Empyrean martial artists have to minor in Empyrean martial artists to strengthen their physique. Lin Feng pondered, but he learned a lot of information from Yuma. His father had also mentioned that if not for the fact that he had refused to cultivate as a heavenly martial artist to strengthen his body's foundation, he would not have fallen to such a state. Empyrean gods cultivated Empyrean martial artists and used their life spirit to control the human soul. Therefore, the level of the human soul was lower than the first level of the life spirit. However, if the body was already formed, the improvement would be limited. However, it was still easier and more convenient than comprehending strengthening star techniques. Besides, many Empyrean gods might not be able to sense the strengthening star. My body is definitely superior to that of a star lord of the same level. What I lack is a good star armor. Money is also very important. Lin Feng smiled calmly, not worried at all. In the Douling world, the richest people were the 4 auxiliary professions. He was an engraver and a weapon refiner. Did he need money? It was not difficult to earn. Lin Feng slowly stepped forward with a smile on his face. In front of him was Lin Yuma, who had been waiting for a long time. Lin Feng nodded gently. The clan leader wants to see you. Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flickered. In a sealed crystal space, extreme 5-colored light gathered in the center. Lin Feng's eyes widened, and he entered a strange space. It seemed to be a virtual, 3-dimensional space. He was standing there. In front of him was a middle-aged man in a brown coat. His eyes were bright and full of energy, and he had a domineering aura. Looking at him, the middle-aged man suddenly laughed heartily. Lin Feng, you've made me wait for a long time. Lin Feng bowed slightly. Greetings, clan leader. The middle-aged man in front of him was the leader of the Lin clan, Lin Jun. When he entered, Yuma had already informed him. This wasn't out of his expectations, and it was indeed the result he wanted. Heroes indeed come from the young. Lin Jun's eyes flickered. I heard that Lin Feng came from a barbarian area? Yes, I came from Yinling Prefecture. Lin Feng was neither servile nor overbearing. This was not a secret, and there was no need to hide it. Oh, Lin Jun was hesitant. Suddenly, a bright light flashed in his eyes. The closest place to Yinling Prefecture should be the Great Yin Prefecture, including Yellow Crane Prefecture and Small Spring Prefecture. They seem to be much closer than Vermilion Bird Prefecture. Why did Lin Feng come to Vermilion Bird Prefecture? Probing. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. Lin Jun wanted to recruit Lin Feng, but just as Lam Tok Ti said, loyalty was the key. No matter how good a talent was, if he could not be used for himself and had ulterior motives, what was the use of spending a lot of effort to recruit him? Every clan had always appointed people based on favoritism. I won't hide it from you, senior. Lin Feng smiled and said happily, I'm already tired of the struggle in Yinling Prefecture. Once I enter Great Yin Prefecture, I will definitely be involved in the big and small battles between the barbarian forces. I'd rather be alone and start over, free and easy. He was already prepared in his heart. He used one macho's reason for his own use. Lin Jun nodded. As the clan leader, he was very clear about this. The prefectures near the Vermilion Bird Prefecture, such as the Mystic Mystery Prefecture and the Myriad Wheels Prefecture, all had forces in Sherluo Prefecture, and they fought endlessly all year round. Barbarian martial artists were a marvel in every prefecture. Then why did you join my Lin clan and become an apprentice artificer? Lin Jun asked immediately. Because I like to forge artifacts. Lin Feng smiled faintly without hesitation. It's that simple. Lin Jun raised his eyebrows slightly. Lin Feng smiled and said, How complicated do you think it is, clan leader? Then, Lin Jun wanted to ask more questions, but he was interrupted by Lin Feng. Clan leader, becoming an apprentice artificer doesn't mean that I lose my freedom. According to the agreement, after a year of training, I only need to complete a certain number of artificer tasks in the following 100 years. Is that so? Turning defense into offense. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. How could he let Lin Jun do whatever he wanted? Of course, the Lin clan wanted to join, but he didn't want to beg like this. That's right. TSK, look at me. I'm acting up again. Lin Jun laughed, but the awkwardness between them disappeared instantly. As a clan leader, he was indeed very broad-minded and capable. Little brother, please don't take offense. Clan leader, you're exaggerating. Lin Feng smiled faintly. He had already won back some ground. Now he was standing on the same level as Lin Jun. I heard from Yuma that you created the 8-star spirit treasure. Lin Jun went straight to the point, his sparkling eyes staring straight at Lin Feng. No, this junior and Yuma researched it together. Lin Feng raised his head and looked straight at Lin Jun. Lin Jun was hesitant, but he couldn't see any flaws in Lin Feng's eyes. He frowned and said, Then why did you give this artificer's guide to the Lin clan? Looking at Lin Feng, Lin Jun probed, could it be that little brother has a special interest in Artificer and is interested in joining the Lin clan? Lin Feng smiled faintly. No, it's the opposite. Huh? Lin Jun was startled. Looking at Lin Jun, Lin Feng nodded lightly. This Artificer's Guide will be a gift in return for the Artificer tasks agreed upon for the next 100 years. Looking at Lin Jun, Lin Feng smiled faintly. This should be enough, right, clan leader? Incomparably shocked. Lin Jun was completely caught off guard. He originally thought that Lin Feng's goodwill to the Lin clan was for the sake of joining, but now it seemed they had completely misunderstood. No, Lin Jun hastily said. Lin Feng sneered. Is it not enough, clan leader? That's not what I meant. Lin Jun laughed shyly. It is enough, but there doesn't seem to be a precedent. Little brother, why don't you wait for a while and allow me to discuss this matter with the elders before making a decision? What a joke. If he let Lin Feng leave like this, wouldn't he be drawing water with a bamboo basket with water? Even if he sold Lin Feng to Yin Qing, the Lin clan would still be able to make a huge profit. But if he let Lin Feng just run away like this, sweat, what a huge loss. A drop of cold sweat appeared on Lin Jun's forehead, but he couldn't care less about his bearing. As if he was afraid that Lin Feng would make another request, he hurriedly disappeared. Lin Feng smiled calmly. Looking at Lin Jun's disappearing figure, his eyes flickered lightly. This move was extremely successful, advancing by retreating. In order to obtain the greatest benefit, one naturally couldn't be impatient. How could he not know what Lin Jun was thinking? Letting him go was equivalent to taking a golden egg, but releasing the hen that laid the golden egg. Although he wasn't a hen, the logic was the same. Take it slow. Be careful. I definitely can't let them discover my goal. Lin Feng pondered. However, he was advancing by retreating, breaking his goal into pieces. If he joined the Lin clan in the future, he definitely wouldn't arouse suspicion. Wah! Lin Feng's figure flashed. Seeing that Lin Yuma was waiting for him, Lin Feng smiled lightly. He felt a little guilty towards this beautiful girl in front of him. He had used her, but fortunately, he hadn't hurt her. In fact, it was a blessing in disguise. Yuma had also benefited greatly from this. But it was mutual assistance. Lin Feng, did the clan leader recruit you? Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flickered. You could say that. Lin Feng smiled slightly. However, I rejected him. I took the initiative to request to use the weapon forging guidebook as the price to leave my status as an apprentice and leave the Lin clan. What? Lin Yuma was shocked. Second update. Chapter 773. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind Starry Sky Fiery and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the Chinese website's official account, add a friend on WeChat, add a public account, type K'Dred, and tell me secretly. In the main hall of the Lin clan, Clan Leader Lin Jun, Deputy Clan Leader Lam Tok Ti, Chief Artificer Lin Yin, Grand Elder Lin Zhongxian, Grand Elder Lin Shi, and Supervisor Lin Zhong were all present. An emergency meeting. I believe everyone knows that there's an artificer named Lin Feng. Lin Jun's eyes shone brightly. Is he the artificer genius that old Yin mentioned? The one whose talent surpasses the Pang family's Pang Yin, right? Lin Zhongxian said, slowly with a smile. He's indeed a rare talent. Lin Yin stroked his long beard and nodded. He's a natural-born artificer. Lam Tok Ti played with the thumb ring in his hand and said slowly, Clan leader wants to recruit this Lin Feng. Everyone whispered to each other and expressed their opinions. As the top authority of the Lin clan and made up of the direct bloodline, they were a little resistant to foreign martial artists. Lin Yin and Lin Zhong naturally supported the idea. Grand Elder Lin Zhongxian and Grand Elder Lin Shi discussed incessantly. As for Lam Tok Ti, he did not say a word. There's no need to discuss it. Before I could say anything, Lin Jin shook his head with a wry smile. He volunteered to leave the Lin clan. On the second floor of the Apprentice Square. Are you serious? Lin Yuma looked at Lin Feng in disbelief. Yes, I came here to learn artificer forging. Now that I've mastered the skills, there's no point in staying, Lin Feng said with a smile. Well, Lin Yuma pursed his lips and said, but in the Lin clan, you can learn advanced artificer forging skills that you can't find outside. You can also use more artificer forging equipment. You can even learn the Lin clan's unique secret techniques. But Yuma, you said yourself that all the advanced artificer forging skills are just basic techniques that are connected, combined, and evolved. Lin Feng smiled casually. As for the unique secret techniques, I'm afraid that even you can't learn them, let alone me. Lin Yuma was speechless. Looking at the apprentice she had taught, Lin Yuma wanted to laugh, but she couldn't. That was indeed the case. Artificer forging equipment, materials, and artificer forging manuals, and so on. Lin Feng looked at Lin Yuma and said with a smile, Yuma, you are the one who told me that to become a true artificer, one should find one's own artificer Tao and walk one's own path. Isn't that right? Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flashed, causing her beautiful face to look even more beautiful. Indeed, she had comprehended it from Lin Feng. Now, Lin Feng's words were directly from her heart. No matter what, Yuma, in my heart, you will always be my mentor, Lin Feng said seriously. I will remember your kindness in my heart. If you need help in the future, as long as I can do it. Lin Feng smiled and looked at Lin Yuma. I will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. He was grateful to Yuma from the bottom of his heart. It was not only because of the guilt he felt towards her, but also because of her teachings. It could be said that his ability as artificer completely came from her lineage. From a newbie who didn't know anything to someone who could even create an 8-star spirit treasure, Yuma took a lot of credit. Looking at Lin Feng, Lin Yuma's heart suddenly became clear, and she smiled sweetly. She could naturally hear the sincerity in Lin Feng's words. She smiled and said, this is what you said. When the time comes, you're not allowed to go back on your word. It was a rare girl's attitude. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. He knew that Yuma had already let go of her heart. However, he would still return to the Lin clan in the end. Continue to increase the price. Lin Feng did not return to the 100-fold time engraving formation cultivation, but he was not in a hurry. With such a good helper like Yuma, wouldn't it be a pity to waste it? Moreover, innovative artifact forging was really interesting. It was as if he had opened up a new path. Simplification, changing the refinement of various 7-star spirit treasures, making the best use of each material, reducing the materials, and even the time in the most profound way. Lin Feng and Yuma were quickly immersed in the research, forgetting to eat and sleep. They both loved artifact forging and had the same goal, so their cooperation became more and more skillful. However, good things were strewn with setbacks. 3 consecutive improvements had failed, which seemed to prove that the first time was just luck. This one won't work either. The extent of improvement has already reached the limit, and we have already reached the bottom of all the steps. We can't go any deeper. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. Although he was disappointed, he could only give up. The refinement of every spirit treasure had a bottom line. Exceeding this bottom line would destroy the existence of the artifact itself. It was as if breaking the balance was not innovation, but destruction. It should be on the basis of maintaining the balance, causing the core to transform. This was the true innovation on the original foundation. There's no other way. Lin Yuma also shook her head. This blazing shuttle has been studied for 3 days, but it still can't pass. It was quite regretful, but Lin Yuma's tolerance for failure was also very strong. Just like Lin Feng, she had suffered since childhood. Although I failed, I also learn a lot and improve a lot. Lin Feng smiled, not minding it too much. For a beginner in artifact forging, every time he succeeded, he would be happy. But in reality, failure was something he could learn more than success. Especially for someone like Yuma, who had a deep foundation in artifact forging. That was the experience he had gained after experiencing countless complex refinements. Just like a martial artist who had just stepped out he could only continuously experience bloody storms and kill. Only then could he truly display his battle strength and grow. Do you still want to try? Lin Yuma smiled. She was very happy to study artifact forging with Lin Feng, and she also gained a lot. The application of these artifact forging foundations was like reviewing the old and learning new things. She also gained a lot from Lin Feng's many wonderful ideas. It wasn't a waste of time. In fact, it was just a drop in the bucket for the time needed to comprehend star techniques. She believed that the experience gained from failure here would be extremely useful for her to comprehend star techniques like artifact forging in the near future. And if she succeeded, the gains would be even more unpredictable. However, some things were indeed destined. It wasn't that easy to improve a 7-star numinous treasure to an 8-star numinous treasure. Artifact forging was extremely complicated. The innovation and change of a numinous treasure was even more so. With Lin Feng's knowledge and Yuma's experience and ability, they indeed had the power to turn something rotten into something magical. However, this power sometimes depended on the heavens. At least, now that their artifact forging techniques were not fully mature, they still needed a certain amount of luck. And now, their luck was obviously not that good. Half a month passed by in a hurry. Okay, we failed again. Lin Feng shook his head helplessly. Lin Yuma smiled and faced failure with a cheerful attitude. To her, she just had to do her best. Whether she succeeded or not depended on heaven's will. Strange, I keep feeling that this Chong ice domain should be able to increase the level. What's the difference? Lin Feng hummed softly and hesitated. However, she picked up the sample and looked at it for a while before touching it. She then put it down and fell in a deep thought. Lin Yuma smiled and was about to speak when the star crystal watch on her left hand suddenly lit up. Patriarch. After not hearing from her for half a month, Lin Yuma was also curious. Now that she suddenly received a message, she looked at Lin Feng. Lin Yuma gently retreated to the other side. Lin Feng didn't notice it either. Immersed in artifact forging, she had long forgotten about the matter of recruitment. She had to be focused no matter what she did. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. No wonder I found it familiar. It's because this Chong ice domain is similar to my blizzard snow domain. Maybe I can use it as a reference. Lin Feng immediately took out the blizzard snow domain, an 8-star domain spirit treasure. He had used it several times in Yanling Mansion. The Chong ice domain was a 7-star spirit treasure. If he wanted to increase its level, he could compare it with the blizzard snow domain. Touching the blizzard snow domain with one hand, Lin Feng smiled and felt a sense of familiarity. Although he hadn't used it for a long time, this feeling of connection still existed. Holding it in his hand, there was a very special feeling. Lin Feng's eyes were shining. He touched the surface of the fine lines, and his heart was as calm as dust. Suddenly, whoosh! His head shook slightly. Lin Feng was stunned. It was as if he had entered a special area, a magical place. In front of him, there was a flash of light. Its movements were unusually skillful and compact. Its rhythm was fast and clear. The picture was purely composed of light, but the flame was deeply engraved in his heart. He could feel every degree, every change, every detail. This is refining. Could it be that it's refining? Lin Feng was shocked. This was something he had never experienced before. However, it was very similar to the last time he saw the inscription formation. The difference was that now, it was an 8-star spirit treasure. Smelting, shaping, step by step, it seems blurry, but it's clear. The feeling is so profound. Lin Feng was shocked. Although he couldn't see the materials, he could vaguely distinguish a lot from the degree of the fire. If it was before, it would be useless for him to see this picture. But now, with a solid refining technique, the picture in front of him was undoubtedly an oasis in the desert. The whole refining process could be seen at a glance. It was unusually clear. It's like this. Then do it again. Lin Feng's eyes flickered, and his hands quickly gestured. He simulated everything in his mind, over and over again, as if he had entered a magical illusion. Comprehension, deep comprehension, coupled with inference. Soon he grasped many key points. Hua. Lin Feng closed his eyes. The illusion in front of him had completely disappeared. It was replaced by the entire refining process just now. The light and shadow had already merged into one. He was clearly refining an 8-star spirit treasure, Blizzard Domain. After a while, Lin Yuma came back. However, seeing Lin Feng like this, it was as if he had an epiphany. It felt as if he returned to the Xiaoxiang restaurant and saw him for the first time. What's wrong? Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flickered. He was puzzled. I'm writing that my head doesn't hurt anymore. Sweat. I hope it's not a sign of a cold, Ed. What a good activity where a pie falls from the sky. Cool mobile phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese network's public account. Add friends on WeChat. Add a public account. Enter Dread and participate immediately. There's a prize for everyone. Follow Dread's WeChat public account immediately. Chapter 774. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind Fire Refining the Starry Sky, and listen to more of your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the Chinese website's public account. Add friends on WeChat. Add public account. Type Dread. And tell me secretly. Lin Feng had entered a very deep state. The drawing of an inscription master was a depiction of Tao, supplemented by skills. At this time, the refinement of the 8-star spirit treasure Blizzard Domain was purely a technique. It hadn't reached the Star Lord level, so there was no Tao. It was purely the layering of materials, refinement, transformation, and the application of the refiner's basic skills. In fact, Lin Feng already had the ability to refine 8-star spirit treasures. However, the refining guidebook for 8-star spirit treasures wouldn't be leaked. Although it wasn't as confidential as a secret skill, it wasn't something that ordinary apprentices could come into contact with. Therefore, during this period of time, Lin Feng had been refining 7-star spirit treasures. Judging from the degree of the fire block, this should be spirit welding crystal. First melting, and then fusing with the spirit welding crystal. The degree of the fire block. There are several possibilities. There's such a step. Why is it like this? Lin Feng was completely immersed in his thoughts. Compared to the inscription array at that time, because he had a deep understanding of the Tao of the inscription array, the entire process of refining was easy to understand. However, it was only a kind of copy. For example, why did the source draw like this? Could the rhythm of the drawing be changed? He didn't know these things. Therefore, even if he could easily draw the time inscription array with 10 times the rate, he couldn't draw the simpler time inscription array with 5 times the rate, 3 times the rate, or even 2 times the rate. If others knew, it would undoubtedly be extremely strange. However, he already had a lot of experience in refining. Perhaps the whole process wasn't clear, and he could only feel the fire block and every step, rhythm, and other changes. However, there was a chance to figure it out, step by step. 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours. In Lin Feng's mind, he kept running simulations. One possibility after another was constantly inferred and rejected. The most troublesome one was the material. He could only estimate and ponder based on the feeling of the fire block. This is a lack of experience. If I have enough experience as a refiner and am familiar with the application of various materials, this won't be a problem at all. But now, I can only try them one by one. Lin Feng was very clear about his own weaknesses. Just like battles, the more battles one fought, the more experience one would gain. As for himself, not to mention being an armament master, he had only been an armament apprentice for less than a month. A complete novice. A full 12 hours passed. Hua! Lin Feng opened his eyes, which were shining brightly. In front of his eyes was a flawless face that was like crystal jade. Lin Yuma was looking back at him curiously. There were various materials on the crafting table, and Yuma had an incomplete numinous treasure in his hands, or rather, a failed numinous treasure. Clearly, Yuma was trying something. What did you think of? Lin Yuma smiled. Yes, Lin Feng's eyes were bright, and he did not elaborate. Can you help me prepare some materials? Lin Feng asked softly. Okay. Lin Yuma nodded and did not say anything else. Thank you. Lin Feng said softly. 10 sets of materials. Lin Feng's eyes were burning as he placed the sets in front of him. Although he had eliminated many possibilities and simulated it countless times in his mind, there were still 18 possibilities that he could not distinguish. He needed to put them into practice. However, Yuma didn't have that many materials on her. After all, many of the materials for refining weapons were very precious. My experience in refining weapons is still too lacking. If it was Yuma, I would definitely be able to eliminate most of the 18 possibilities. Lin Feng closed his eyes as he muttered to himself. The first set of refining plans entered his mind, and he simulated it deeply once again. There were not many materials. There were not many chances of failure. A set of materials for an 8-star numinous treasure was worth tens of millions of soul coins. Yuma naturally did not have that many in stock. This shouldn't be refining the 7-star Chang ice domain. Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flickered as he pondered in his heart. At a glance, he could tell that it was the material for an 8-star numinous treasure. Moreover, it was the material for refining a domain-type numinous treasure, which was more valuable than the materials for other 8-star numinous treasures. What is Lin Feng trying to do? Reset the Chang ice domain and change its core? Lin Yuma's heart trembled. Shaking his head, Lin Yuma instantly rejected the idea. Even a master weapon refinement like Lin Yin could not do this kind of refining technique. No matter how good Lin Feng's basic skills were or how heaven-defying his fire control was, it was impossible for him to do such an incredible thing. But if that's not the case, then what is it? Could it be that he is refining a new 8-star numinous treasure? Lin Yuma suddenly smiled, but this possibility was even more absurd. It was tens of millions of times more difficult than the Chang ice domain. In the entire Vermilion Bird continent, not a single weapon refinement master could do it. At this moment, Lin Feng finally moved. Huff! Inhale. Deep breaths drove Lin Feng's body's rhythm. Whoosh! His eyes lit up. Lin Feng's aura was completely different. Huff! Huff! Flames rose from his hands almost instantly, bringing with them a sense of righteousness. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with flickering light, one on the left and one on the right. It was like a combination of a demon and an angel. The feeling was extremely strange, but stunned Lin Yuma instantly. Boom! The flames rose. The moment Lin Feng made his move, it was completely different from the refining of a 7-star numinous treasure. The flames burned. In terms of the range of the flames, it was already quite high. In terms of refining materials, an 8-star numinous treasure was naturally better than a 7-star numinous treasure by a level. The flames needed to melt were also more powerful. Lin Feng quickly began to refine. His movements were very skillful, and he did not stop at all. His hands divided the spirit crystal, and he quickly entered the smelting state. The days were meritorious. The current Lin Feng was already able to skillfully apply the basic techniques of refining. Even compared to Lin Yuma, he was not inferior. Time, minute by minute, second by second. After a while, Lin Feng entered the molding stage. However, this time he suffered a huge slippery slope. The molding process had just begun, but it was already declared a failure. Lin Yuma lightly sneered. In her opinion, there should be no problem with the refining method and process. In fact, in Lin Feng's mind, there were no mistakes in the refining process. However, after all, the actual operation was different from the simulation. The crystallization of the spirit crystal and the bright, or essence, is not compatible with the broad vanadium. Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he looked at Lin Yuma. The latter nodded slightly and remembered it in his heart. However, different crystals had different characteristics. For example, there was no problem when the spirit crystal and the bright, or essence, were combined with the broad vanadium. However, the crystallization was to extract the essence and discard the dregs. Sometimes the dregs that were removed seemed useless, but in fact they were kind of adhesive, a neutralizing and balancing existence. There were countless refining materials. Even a master refiner would not dare to say that he had mastered all the materials, let alone a newcomer like Lin Feng. Some things could only be known after trying. This set of materials is useless too. Lin Feng glanced at the refining table and directly eliminated the third set of materials. Right now, he only had 8 sets of materials left. Continue. Lin Feng's expression was calm. Failure was not a big deal. In the past half a month, he had already failed countless times. Failure. Failure again. Failure again. What awaited Lin Feng was failure after failure. Soon, there were only 2 sets of materials left. At this time, Lin Yuma also somewhat understood what Lin Feng was doing. The Blizzard Territory. Lin Yuma whispered, his eyes shining. This set of 8-star domain spirit treasure was the signature of the Luo Shi clan. It was very popular. Among the 3 major counties of Shiluo County, even the strongest paying family did not have the Blizzard Territory's refining guidebook. But now, Lin Feng was trying to refine it. It was quite incredible. If it was before, Lin Yuma would have found it hard to believe because it was more difficult to change the core balance of the Chong Ice Territory. But now, maybe he can really refine it. Lin Yuma pursed his cherry lips, his beautiful eyes shining. Just now, in the application of the 8th set of materials, Lin Feng was almost able to refine the Blizzard Territory. He was only 1 step away. When he combined it with the mutated beast crystal, there was a deviation and mistake, causing the entire refining effort to be in vain. Only 1 step left. There is no need to try the remaining 2 sets of materials. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. The 8th set of materials should be the most complete refining materials. There is no gap in the whole process. It is exactly the same as the simulation in my mind. Lin Feng nodded gently and closed his eyes. He simulated it again and again, and the whole process was perfect. He perfectly overlapped with the refining light, as if he was refining it himself. But, in the simulation, the combination of the spirit treasure and the mutated beast crystal was perfect. Yet he had failed. What is the difference? Lin Feng had a big question mark in his mind. Incompatible. Lin Feng shook his head. Or is it the details of the refining process? Where is the deviation? Or the technique? After thinking carefully, Lin Feng couldn't make up his mind. Lin Yuma, who was beside him, smiled slightly. But when she saw how focused he was, she didn't want to disturb him. Although the clan leader had something important to discuss with Lin Feng, she didn't think that this was a good time. It was like an epiphany. Lin Feng was very close to success. He was very close. There is only a fine line between failure and success. Lin Feng thought about the failure just now again and again. He kept thinking about every step carefully. Until the end, there is absolutely no problem with my refining technique and technique. Lin Feng was very confident in his refining skills. The only thing that could be wrong is the materials. But how can these refining materials change? If it is changed, I'm afraid the whole balance will be broken. Pull 1 hair, and the whole body will be affected. Lin Feng was very clear about it. He looked hesitant. Suddenly, back to the origin. I have been looking for the problem with the spirit treasure. Why don't I think about it? This might be a problem with the mutated beast crystal. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The corners of his mouth immediately curled up. In his heart, he instantly understood. What a good event where a pie falls from the sky. Cool phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's public account. Add friends on WeChat. Add a public account. Type Kdred. And participate immediately. Everyone has a prize. Follow Kdred's WeChat public account now. Chapter 775. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind Fire, Smelting the Starry Sky, and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the Chinese website's official account. Add friends on WeChat. Add official account. Type Kdred. And tell me secretly. Put away the rest of the materials, Yuma. Lin Feng smiled. Lin Yuma sneered. Lin Feng, are you going to give up? No, it's the opposite. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. I already know how to refine the 8-star spirit treasure, Blizzard Domain. Covering her small mouth, Lin Yuma was extremely shocked. Really? 90%. Lin Feng smiled. But I need your help. I'm still sure the most important material, a level 8 Snow Lotus's Heart of Wood Spirit. Level 8 Snow Lotus's Heart of Wood Spirit. Lin Yuma's eyes flashed. He immediately reacted. You want to use the Heart of Wood Spirit to replace the mutated Beast Crystal? But the Heart of Wood Spirit's consciousness energy is not as good as the mutated Beast Crystal. Maybe. He hesitated slightly. The mainstream Spirit Treasure Refinement used the mutated Beast Crystal. Although the Heart of Wood Spirit could be used, it was a special one. The ratio of the two was very different. Yes. Lin Feng nodded. This Blizzard Domain is made of excellent materials. Its structure is very precise and ingenious. It's better than other 8-star spirit treasures. It needs a gentle soul to help balance it. The mutated Beast Crystal is too violent. Although it can enhance the spirit treasure's quality, it's not suitable. Lin Yuma nodded thoughtfully. Must it be the Snow Lotus? Not necessarily. There are many choices, but Lin Feng murmured, I feel that the Snow Lotus's characteristics are the most suitable for the Blizzard Domain. I don't have the Heart of Wood Spirit of the level 8 Snow Lotus. Lin Yuma said regretfully. Weapon craftsmen did not lack mutated beast crystals. Although they also had wood spirit hearts, they were not as comprehensive as mutated beast crystals. Moreover, Lin Yuma was not very rich. I see. Lin Feng frowned slightly. There's no need to worry. Lin Yuma smiled. I think senior sister Long Mo should have some. I'll go to the first level. Lin Feng said apologetically. Sorry to trouble you, Yuma. It's nothing. Lin Yuma smiled. By the way, Lin Feng, the Patriarch and the Elders want to see you. Now that we have some free time, what do you think? Patriarch? Elders? Had they finally lost their patience? Lin Feng was suddenly enlightened. He smiled and said, Okay. In a sealed crystal space, extreme 5-colored light gathered. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and he entered a strange space. This was a unique virtual world. Last time, he had met Patriarch Lin Jun for the first time here. But this time it seemed different. Lin Feng thought. The leader was Patriarch Lin Jun. The other 3 were able to come with him, so their status was obviously very high. This time, the lineup was indeed different. I heard from Yuma that in the Lin clan, there are 3 big shots below the Patriarch. Their Grand Elder Lin Zhongxian and Chief Weapon Craftsman Lin Yan. Lin Feng glanced over and instantly saw the 2 old men. One of them had white hair and a ruddy complexion, while the other had white sideburns. Obviously, they were quite old. The other one is the second in command of the Lin clan, Deputy Patriarch Lam, Tok Ti. Lin Feng looked over. Immediately, he saw a man with a resolute face. His eyes were bright, and he had the aura of a Pang Ran. Pong! Lin Feng felt as if his head was about to explode. He was not shocked by Lam Tok Ti's aura, but by his appearance. 80%, no, 90% similar. Father! Lin Feng shouted wildly in his mind, and his eyes kept changing. The man in front of him looked too much like his father. They were almost identical. The corners of his eyes, the forehead, and the expression, but he was not his father. Even if they were 90% similar, there was still 10% different. Most importantly, his aura was completely different from his father's. He is Deputy Patriarch Lam, Tok Ti? Lin Feng's expression changed slightly, and he felt a little nervous. According to his deduction, he only had one relative. His uncle Lin Jing should be his father's younger brother. The young man in front of him seemed to fit the requirements. He had the same face as his father, and his body was 90% similar. He would not believe that he was not related to his father by blood. But he was not Lin Jing. Maybe he is Lin Jing. The Deputy Patriarch is not here today? Lin Feng's eyes flashed. and he suddenly felt hopeful. But soon, Lin Jun's introduction eliminated this possibility. Everything was as he had deduced. This time, it was Patriarch Lin Jun and the 3 leaders of the Lin clan. They were all here. Greetings, seniors. Lin Feng bowed. His expression was respectful, and he was neither servile nor overbearing. The 4 people in front of him were the 4 most powerful people in the Lin clan. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Lin Zhongxian smiled kindly. Very good, little guy. Lin Yin stroked his long beard and nodded with a smile. Only Lam Tokti's expression was unreadable. He only looked at Lin Feng. No need to be so formal, Lin Feng. Lin Zhen laughed heartily and tried to smooth things over. We have discussed the request you made last time. Unfortunately, we cannot approve it. If we do, those rich kids can come and go as they please and learn our Lin clan's crafting techniques. It will be too damaging to the clan's reputation. Lin Feng nodded. Patriarch's words are reasonable. I was rude. His words were reasonable, and he knew that Lin Zhen would not let him go so easily. Even if there were no restrictions on him for the next 100 years, and he only had the title of Lin Clan hanging on his head, it would still be of great help to them. At the very least, he would not be able to join any other crafting clans. There were only benefits. This is only a small matter. Lin Zhen smiled, and his eyes suddenly sparkled. I will not beat around the bush, Lin Feng. Let's get straight to the point. Since you have become an apprentice craftsman of the Lin clan, are you willing to officially join the Lin clan and become an external martial practitioner? Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. External martial practitioners refer to those who were loyal to the Lin clan and belonged to the Lin clan. They were the 6th grade. As time passed, many external martial practitioners would eventually reach the 5th grade or even the 4th grade according to their strength, contribution, and loyalty. They occupied a large proportion of the Lin clan. Apprentice craftsmen were only at the 7th grade and had the lowest status in the Lin clan. Thank you for your kind intentions, Patriarch. Lin Feng rejected without even thinking about it. The 6th grade was far from what he wanted. Lin Jin smiled as if he was not surprised. He continued, No, Lin Feng, this is only the first step according to the rules. Because of the crafting guidebook, your contribution to the clan is sufficient. After our discussion, we can directly promote you to the 5th grade, branch martial practitioner. One grade after another. Lin Feng smiled faintly. He was clear about Lin Zhen's intentions, and he slowly revealed his trump card. His methods were quite shrewd. Branch martial practitioners referred to the branch existences of the Lin clan in the tens of thousands of prefectures around the Vermilion Bird Province. In terms of bloodline, they might be very thin, but the bloodline of the Lin clan indeed flowed in their bodies. They were branch martial practitioners who were loyal to the Lin clan. Many martial practitioners of branch bloodlines could reach the 4th or 3rd level in the family, comparable to the branch bloodline. I hope Patriarch will be magnanimous enough to forgive me. I only want to be free and not be bound by the clan. Lin Feng shook his head and refused without any hesitation. Whether it was the 6th grade or the 5th grade, they had no status in the Lin clan. If he wanted to achieve his goal, he had to slowly infiltrate the Lin clan. At the very least, he had to reach the 4th grade. Rejected. Rejected again. The 4 people's expressions were somewhat ugly, especially Lin Zhen, who could only smile awkwardly after being rejected twice in a row. After waiting for half a month and seeing that Lin Feng had not moved at all, he finally tried to make a move. However, he did not expect to be completely rejected. Lin Feng seemed to be just as he had said the first time. He yearned for freedom and relaxation. He had no interest in joining the Lin clan. However, not to mention branch martial practitioners and branch martial practitioners, even branch martial practitioners and direct martial practitioners had to listen to the clan's orders. How could they make an exception for Lin Feng alone? You gain something and you lose something. Freedom had never had anything to do with the clan. Lin Feng, why don't you consider it again? Lin Zhen's eyes flashed. He was unwilling to give up and advised, if you become a branch martial practitioner, the clan can give you many benefits, including a cultivation environment, training facilities, refining materials, etc., and a more stable life. Also, the clan can protect you and be your backing. You don't have to worry about the identity token of the Vermilion Bird Continent, because the clan will help you pay for it. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Indeed, it was very tempting, especially the last one. The identity tokens of the Vermilion Bird Continent were divided into limestone, rough iron, bronze, and so on. While they enjoyed different benefits, they had to pay a considerable fee every year. In order to survive, many martial practitioners had no choice but to join the various large sects, clans, and other forces. How could it be so easy to stay in the 9 provinces? The greatest advantage of an artificer clan was that they were wealthy. The Lin clan did not lack money. It was too easy to pay for the maintenance of the identity token. Okay, I will. Lin Feng smiled slightly. He did not explicitly refuse, but his expression, demeanor, and tone told before that joining was an impossible thing. He did not refuse because he did not want to make the relationship between them tense and awkward. In that case, goodbye, seniors. Lin Feng bowed his head and left after saying those words. However, this caused the 4 of them to frown slightly and reveal looks of disappointment. The recruitment failed. After coming out of the crystal space, Lin Feng quickly saw Lin Yima. The latter seemed to have just returned. He smiled and waved the wood spirit heart in his hand. Lin Feng also smiled and nodded. Everything was going smoothly. It's about time. As long as I can refine this 8-star spirit treasure blizzard domain, I believe everything will be settled. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled and the corners of his mouth curled up. It was all under his control. What a good activity for a pie in the sky. Cool phones are waiting for you. Follow me. Click on the Chinese network's official account. Add a friend on WeChat. Add a public account. Type Dread and participate immediately. There will be a prize for everyone. Follow Dread's official account now. Chapter 776. In the main hall of the Lin clan, clan leader Lin Jun, the 3 big shots, and the 10 people at the top of the pyramid gathered together. This was the power of the top of the Lin clan. All matters big or small were decided by the 14 people. During this meeting, Lin Feng's name was mentioned a few times. Everyone was divided into 2 factions, each expressing their own opinions and discussing nonstop. Clan leader, we can't make this exception, second elder Lin Chun said seriously. I also object, Lin Imo said coldly. As the enforcer of the clan's rules, Lin Mo's character was 1, and 2 was 2. There was no gray area in between. I agree. Lin Feng has endless potential. It's worth making an exception. Lin Zhong supported Lin Feng. Back then, he was the one who discovered Lin Feng and sent him to the apprentice square. Now that Lin Feng's reputation had risen, he would naturally support him to the end. Moreover, in his opinion, Lin Feng was indeed a rare talent. Let's talk about the matter as it is. Everyone was discussing fervently. It was noisy and noisy. On the other hand, the 3 big shots were silent. No one knew what their attitudes were. Lin Jun held his chin with his hand and frowned slightly. He seemed to be hesitant and unable to come to a conclusion. Lin Feng was a talent. No one had any objections to this. However, was it worth it to make the clan make an exception for him? To take or to give up? I don't think there's a problem. Lin Zhong stood his ground against the opinions of the crowd. His honest voice was extremely firm. Back then, didn't we also make an exception for external martial artists to be in the 3rd tier? However, Chun Jinyan changed his surname to Lin, married the daughter of the previous clan leader, and married into our Lin clan. Didn't he also become the 2nd tier, the 2nd direct martial artist? How can it be compared? Lin Jinyan's strength can be ranked in the top 5 of the Lin clan. First Elder Lin shook his head and said, even compared to me, he's only slightly weaker. In terms of strength, First Elder Lin was ranked in the top 3 of the Lin clan. He believed in strength very much. Indeed, their contributions to the family cannot be compared at all. Lin Chun shook his head. And in my opinion, this Lin Feng's background is a bit suspicious. This person's background is still unclear. Patriarch, Please reconsider, Lin Mo said solemnly. Everyone chimed in one after another. However, there were more people opposed to it than in favor of it. Although Lin Feng's talent was extraordinary and he was an excellent refiner, this was a family, not a sect. Family clans appointed people based on favoritism, just like the thousands of Yinling clans in the Yinling prefecture. The development of any family was based on the belief in bloodline and the belief that they were on the same side. All right, as usual, let's vote. Lin Jun waved his hand helplessly. Even if he supported Lin Feng, the Lin clan didn't have the final say. As a clan leader, he couldn't act recklessly. Whenever they encountered something they couldn't decide on, they would vote. Lin Shi, Lin Mo, Lin Zhong, and the other 10 people voted for 1 point. Lam Tok Ti, Lin Yin, and Lin Zhongxian voted for 2 points. As the clan leader, Lin Jun's vote was as high as 5 points. The total score was 21 points. Once the votes reached 11 points, the decision would be passed. Those who oppose making an exception to recruit Lin Feng, please raise your hand. Lin Jun's eyes were burning as he said in a low voice, "Shua, shua, shua." Instantly, 8 pairs of arms were raised, including Lin Mo, Lin Chun, and Lin Shi. 8 of the 10 upper echelon voted in unison. They had 8 points. It's your turn. Lin Jun looked at Lam Tok Ti, Lin Yin, and Lin Zhongxian, who weren't far away. The three's positions were crucial. Shua. Lin Zhongxian was the first to raise his hand. Lin Yin stroked his long beard with a calm expression. Clearly, he was supporting Lin Feng. As the chief craftsman, he knew very well what Lin Feng's talent meant. As long as he was nurtured well and made an exception for him, the Lin clan might even have a chance to surpass the Pang family in the future. However, the risk was also extremely high. After all, no one could guarantee that Lin Feng would be loyal to the Lin clan. Those who weren't of the clan were bound to have different intentions. This sentence had been passed down for a long time within the clan. Lin Jun's gaze finally landed on the deputy clan leader Lam Tok Ti. The latter didn't have any expression, but his right hand was slowly raised. Lin Jun's face flashed with deep disappointment. The dust settled. The total score was 12 points. This meant that the motion was rejected. Phew! Exhaling deeply, Lin Jun lightly sighed and shook his head. Okay, I announce. Just as he was about to speak, the star crystal watch on his left hand vibrated slightly. Lin Jun frowned, and his expression changed slightly. When he opened it, he saw a familiar name and a message. His expression changed drastically. Everyone looked at Lin Jun curiously. The latter's expression was extremely solemn at this moment. Lin Jun slowly looked around at everyone. His eyes were bright. Don't worry, let me show you a video projection first. The video was shot by Lin Yima. It recorded the entire process of Lin Feng refining the 8-star spirit treasure, the Blizzard domain, including the materials, every movement, every detail, and the change of rhythm. Everything was recorded. The 8 Earth-rank craftsmen of the Lin clan widened their eyes in shock. They weren't shocked by Lin Feng's crafting skills, but by Lin Feng's final refinement. Bang! The wood spirit heart merged with the spirit treasure. Whoosh! The stars were clearly visible. The 8-star spirit treasure, the Blizzard domain, was produced with high quality. Did he really succeed? The Earth-rank craftsman, Lin Huiyin, said in shock. How did he know the refining method of the Blizzard domain? Another Earth-rank craftsman, Lin Yu, said in shock. Could it be that the Luo clan? Lin Yan's dim eyes suddenly lit up. What do you think the Luo clan is? Did they take out their own signature to show you? Looking at the red-faced Lin Yin scolded mercilessly. The 8 Earth-rank craftsmen present all witnessed the entire refining process of Lin Feng. With their strength, it wouldn't be difficult for them to refine the treasure again. Everyone immediately looked at Lin Jun. According to Yuma, the Blizzard domain was created by Lin Feng based on the 7-star spirit treasure, the Chang Ice domain, and the finished product, the Blizzard domain. Lin Jun's eyes were burning as he nodded. This Lin Feng is constantly improving every day. In time, he will definitely become one of the strongest craftsmen in Shirluo County. No, in the entire Vermilion Bird Continent. The air was so quiet that it was suffocating. Lin Zhun's voice resounded in everyone's ears, lingering in the air. No one spoke, and no one questioned. Everyone was completely conquered by Lin Feng's shocking refining skills. He indeed had the qualifications and privileges. On the second floor of the Apprentice Square, Lin Feng entered the time engraving array with 100 times the normal rate. The Blizzard Domain's crafting guidebook has been completed. I believe the Lin clan will take action soon. For now, there's no need to meet them. It will only be more advantageous to delay. With a slight smile, Lin Feng was full of confidence. He wasn't in a hurry. At least, he still had more than a month to use the time engraving array with 100 times the normal rate. Wouldn't it be a pity to waste it? However, this starry sky pupil is also strange. Why can't I see through the time engraving array with 100 times the normal rate? Is it because I'm too weak? Lin Feng pondered, feeling puzzled. No matter how he concentrated, the time engraving array with 100 times the normal rate was the same as the star gathering array with 2 times the normal rate in the mushroom house. Originally, he had planned to copy how to draw it, but obviously, things didn't go as he wished. The 4 deputy professions aren't that simple after all. Maybe I didn't meet the requirements. With a faint smile, Lin Feng didn't care. There were too many mysteries in the starry sky pupil. Even now, he still hadn't fully understood the concept of duplication. For example, why could the domain of Blizzard Snow be replicated, but he could not replicate other 7-star numinous treasures? It was very strange. However, it didn't matter. It was because the 8-star numinous treasure, Blizzard Domain, would be the last numinous treasure that he would research and refine. According to Yuma, with my current refining skills, I have completely reached the standards of a refiner. I can start the true path of a refiner. Lin Feng was full of confidence. The 7 main stars of the Phoenix constellation were extremely bright. The 7 main stars of the Special Series, Eukaryotic Series, Offensive Series, Defensive Series, Control Series, Summoning Series, and Enhancement Series all had different mysteries. Among them, the brightest ones were the main stars of the Special Series and Control Series. According to Yuma, the passive star techniques of the Eukaryotic Series and the Enhancement Series are the best basic improvements. Lin Feng thought to himself. The Eukaryotic Series is very crucial to the cultivation of a martial artist, while the Enhancement Series is very important to the improvement of a martial artist's body. For now, the most suitable path for me is to cultivate the Eukaryotic star techniques first. Lin Feng didn't hesitate too much. Although he really wanted to enter this special class and see what was so amazing about the path of refiners at the Star-Lord level, he didn't want to. However, it was still the most suitable for him to break through to the 3rd level of star cultivation. In order to reach the 3rd level of star cultivation, all the star techniques that he comprehended would have to be accumulated to 3 points of star power. He had only comprehended the 1st level of the Wall of Fire, which was 0. 8 points. He still needed 2 points. The higher the sensitivity of the constellation, the more star techniques that can be sensed, and the higher the star power, Lin Feng said. The most important thing was to be able to sense it and comprehend it. That was because comprehension was different. Comprehension was a very subtle existence, and the sensitivity of the constellation was just a key that could open the door of comprehension. Whether or not one could comprehend it depended on one's aptitude and had nothing to do with the sensitivity of the constellation. For example, a spear martial artist could comprehend a spear technique with a star power value of 3 points, but he couldn't comprehend a sword technique with a star power value of less than 1 point. However, it was true that the higher the star power value, the more difficult it would be to comprehend the star techniques. I'll first comprehend the 1st level of the eukaryotic star technique to increase the sensitivity of the constellation. Firstly, I'll accumulate star power. Secondly, I'll prepare for the breakthrough of the power of the constellation after reaching the third level of star cultivation. Lin Feng thought to himself. The sensitivity of the constellation had nothing to do with whether or not one could comprehend it. However, it was closely related to the absorption of the power of the constellation. Hua! Lin Feng instantly entered. The main star of the eukaryotic star. Third update. There's a fourth update, brothers and sisters. Chapter 777. In front of him was the familiar starry sky. It was as if he had entered a new space that was extremely beautiful. His consciousness lingered there, while the power of the constellation was constantly being consumed. It was a big problem for other warriors, but for Lin Feng, the Fate Star Plate was constantly replenishing and forming a cycle. Hence, he didn't have to worry about the problem of consumption at all. It's very important for comprehending star techniques. In the Douling world, many warriors have to rely on star pills to replenish the power of the constellation in order to maintain long-term comprehension. Those ordinary warriors can only comprehend the star techniques one by one, and the effect is not good. Lin Feng smiled slightly. In this aspect, he undoubtedly had a great advantage. Let's look around and see which small stars Dao can enhance the perception of the constellation. Lin Feng's eyes glistened. He immediately focused and searched carefully. All the star techniques of the eukaryotic system belong to the passive type. In other words, they didn't have to be consciously moved during battle like the wall of fire. Instead, they would be automatically attached to the body. In many aspects, passive star techniques were far superior to active star techniques. So many, so diverse, so comprehensive. Lin Feng was amazed. He originally thought that the so-called eukaryotic system was a kind of improvement for cultivation, but after experiencing it deeply, he realized that it was completely different. The Tao of spear techniques, swordsmanship, and swordsmanship were all different. The control of flames, application, changes, condensation, and so on. Body regulation, physical cultivation, there was everything there was. So, it's the so-called eukaryotic system. Actually, it's the existence of various cores. It's really useful. Lin Feng pondered for a while and felt that it was more useful than the star techniques that he sensed in the control system. It was more suitable for him now. However, the comprehension of star techniques couldn't be achieved overnight. There are indeed many star techniques that are based on the perception of the constellation. The difficult ones, the easy ones, and the star power values are different, but they are all based on the specific perception of the main star. Lin Feng suddenly felt a headache coming on. If it were any other martial artist, they might not have cared. When one's strength was still low, lighting up 2 main stars was already quite impressive. One only needed to find a specific main star to increase the sensitivity of the constellation. But his 7 main stars were almost identical. There's no star technique that could directly increase the sensitivity of all constellations like when one's strength increases. What a pity! Lin Feng sighed inwardly, but his movements were not slow. He didn't give up on searching the main stars one by one. Suddenly, Lin Feng was slightly surprised. In front of his eyes, images appeared one after another. A faint silhouette was enveloped by the wings of a huge phoenix. The red starlight was dense and abundant. Along with the movements of his hands and the changes in his breathing, the starlight continued to gather and accelerate. This is the absorption of constellation power. Lin Feng immediately reacted and was pleasantly surprised. The small star was considered relatively large, and its star power value should be between 1.5 and 2, which was close to the limit of low-level star techniques. Phoenix Summoning Technique Level 1. This is it. Lin Feng immediately made a decision without hesitation. To him, everything was meaningless now. He just had to increase his strength as soon as possible. That was the most important thing. Time passed slowly. Huff, huff. Lin Feng was completely immersed in cultivation. This time, he didn't use the star sky eyes to gain benefits like the wall of fire technique. He had truly comprehended the concept of stars. He had comprehended the profoundness of every movement. His simple movements had given birth to the truth. Even if the movements were exactly the same, the feeling was different. It was because the subtle and profound aspects of the Tao of constellations were vastly different. It was difficult. The wall of fire technique was driven by the power of the constellation. The entire process was smooth, and his star sky eyes could replicate it. However, the Phoenix summoning technique was just a simple performance. It was a connection between the heart, and the movements were more like a random change. Phoenix summoning should be the connection between the heart and the phoenix. Deeply comprehend the touch of the body and the mystery of every movement, as well as the changes in the aura. This should be the right way to comprehend. Lin Feng was immersed in the world of comprehension. Day after day passed. Compared to the comprehension of the wall of fire that day, it was more than 10 times more difficult. However, the effects were irreplaceable. Once he comprehended the Phoenix summoning technique, he would be able to increase the speed of absorbing the power of the constellation by more than half, even though it was only the first level. In other words, he could save 1/3 of the time and use it permanently. However, it was really difficult. In the blink of an eye, 13 days had passed. He was in the time engraving array that was 100 times faster. When he cultivated the wall of fire technique that day, he only spent 10 days in the time engraving array. I seem to have gone in the wrong direction. I only know what the right path is after going in the wrong direction. It turns out that the mystery is not comprehended from the movements, nor is it a change from the outside. Instead, it exists from the inside out. I forgot that the star techniques of the eukaryotic series are all passive star techniques. So, there's no need to deliberately cast them. This is completely different from the mental cultivation methods that I've cultivated before. Lin Feng smiled in enlightenment, but he was being led by the inertia in his mind. He had taken a wrong path and gotten himself into a dead end. Movements are just a form of expression. As long as I truly understand the mystery of the Phoenix summoning technique, the connection between the heart and the constellation will change. By then, it will be a real passive star technique. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed. However, the past 2 days were completely different from the previous 13 days. It was because this time, Lin Feng had a goal and a purpose in comprehending it. He wanted to understand the concept of the Tao and the concept of the star technique. With Lin Feng's comprehension, it wouldn't be difficult for him to reach the first level of star technique as long as he found the right direction. Whoosh! The time engraving array that was 100 times faster shone. Xiao Yi's figure appeared with a faint smile. Lin Feng slowly stepped out. Success! The comprehension of the first level of the Phoenix summoning technique not only increased the absorption of the power of the constellation by 50%, but it also lit up the star cultivators of the eukaryotic system and allowed them to reach the second level. At this moment, the total number of star power points exceeded 2 points, and he was close to the third level of star cultivation. It was just a short distance away. Have you comprehended it? Lin Yuma asked with a smile outside the array. Yes. Lin Feng nodded, feeling calm. Lin Yuma smiled and said, "Let's go. The patriarch has been waiting for you for a long time." Lin Feng's eyes flickered, and he said with a smile, "Okay." In a crystal space. This time, there was only one person standing face to face. The patriarch, Lin Zhen. "It's the third time, isn't it, Lin Feng?" Lin Zhen asked with a smile, not minding it at all. As the patriarch, he naturally had his own magnanimity and magnanimity. He definitely wouldn't be calculative over such trivial matters, especially when it came to a rare talent like Lin Feng. "Yes, patriarch," Lin Feng said with a smile. "I think you've already guessed why I'm here." Lin Zhen laughed heartily. "This time, I brought enough sincerity to sincerely invite you to join the Lin clan and become a 4th-grade sub-branch martial artist. You'll enter the Lin clan's inner city." A bright light flashed across Lin Feng's eyes. He had learned the basic information about the Lin clan from Yuma. The three major regions: the central region, the inner city, and the outer city. The outer city was occupied by the 6th grade external branch martial artists and the 5th grade branch martial artists. This region had the most people and was also the region with the weakest authority. Simply put, the martial artists here were only subsidiary existences of the Lin clan. The inner city was different. It was where the Lin clan's true foundation was. The 4th grade sub-branch martial artists, 3rd grade branch martial artists, and 2nd grade sub-direct martial artists all lived in the inner city. As for the central region, it was where the Lin clan's royal family resided. It was also known as the land of bloodlines. Only true direct bloodlines could live there. For example, one of the 2 rising stars of the Lin clan, Lin Fan, was a direct bloodline martial artist. To a certain extent, 4th grade sub-branch martial artists weren't too different from branch martial artists and sub-direct martial artists. The only difference was that the 3 had different statuses, different rights, and different obligations. However, at least they all lived in the inner city. Lin Feng smiled faintly and didn't reply, because he knew very well that this wasn't all that he could get. As expected, Lin Jun's eyes shone brightly as he continued. Nominally, Lin Feng, you're a sub-branch martial artist. However, we won't impose any restrictions on you. You can guarantee your freedom and enjoy the rights of a sub-branch martial artist of the Lin clan. At the same time, you won't have to pay any obligations. This was the biggest concession. Lin Feng quickly came to his senses. Obviously, the Lin clan had special him in secret and didn't dare to do so openly. Aside from not being famous, there were hundreds of advantages and no disadvantages for him. It was quite good. Then what do I have to do? Lin Feng looked straight at Lin Jun. One condition. Lin Jun laughed heartily. He was very satisfied with Lin Feng's answer. Becoming a weapon forger of the Lin clan is the same as becoming an Earth rank weapon forger in the clan. The astral treasures, astral weapons, astral armors, and astral weapons that you forge, the weapon forger guidebook that you write, as long as it's related to weapon forging. Lin Jun's eyes shone brightly. The clan will have priority to purchase. Only priority to purchase. His status was equivalent to an Earth rank weapon forger. From this, it could be seen how much importance the Lin clan placed on Lin Feng. If there are no problems, sign this contract and you can officially join the Lin clan. Lin Jun moved his hand. In an instant, a contract appeared in front of Lin Feng's eyes. Everything that Lin Jun had said just now was in it. Nothing was left out. For the Lin clan, this was almost an unfair contract. However, special talents deserved special treatment. In Lin Jun's opinion, Lin Feng had the ability to obtain this privilege. Looking at the contract in front of him, Lin Feng smiled faintly. He knew very well that this was already the Lin clan's final trump card. The conditions were very cost-effective. It was enough to move the hearts of all the weapon forgers in Sherluo County. Lin Feng didn't hesitate too much and immediately pressed his hand down. Contract success. Time limit, 10,000 years. Whoosh! In an instant, the light shone brightly. Lin Jun laughed heartily and extended his right hand. Welcome to the Lin clan, Lin Feng. Lin Feng also extended his right hand and shook hands with him. He smiled faintly. Please guide me, clan leader. 4th update. Chapter 778. Apprentice Square, 2nd floor. With a faint smile, Lin Feng slowly stepped out of the crystal space. He was very satisfied. From now on, he had truly settled down in the Vermilion Bird Continent, in Sherluo County, and in the Lin clan. He did not need to be like the other martial artists of the 9 provinces, rushing about to pay for the identity token, or even doing things that he did not want to do. Now he was completely free. He did not need to pay any price while enjoying the benefits of being a 4th grade sub-branch martial artist. The time limit was 10,000 years. The only condition was set for blacksmiths. In other words, as long as he did not touch the blacksmith's part, this condition was in fact useless. There is no need for that. First, become a true blacksmith and occasionally refine some astral treasures or astral weapons. It is not necessarily a bad thing. Lin Feng smiled and muttered in his heart. At the very least, blacksmiths were one of the Daos cultivated in the Phoenix constellation. Since he was in the Lin clan, regardless of his identity, his relationship with the Lin clan would not be strained. Moreover, he was not that kind of ingrate. Walking forward in that spacious space, a beautiful figure was like a beautiful scenery. Her slim figure had an extreme sense of beauty, and her beautiful face gave off a sacred and inviolable feeling of nobility and beauty. I keep feeling that I have seen her before. Have I seen Yuma somewhere before? Lin Feng could not help but smile when this thought appeared in his mind. However, he was in the Tianmu continent, and Yuma was in the 9 provinces. It was impossible. You've reached an agreement? Lin Yuma turned around, her clear eyes filled with wisdom. I can't hide it from you. Lin Feng smiled. In the future, I will have to call you Senior Yuma. It is just a title. Lin Yuma smiled faintly. If I'm not wrong, Junior brother, you should have become a warrior of the sub-branch and can enter the inner city. The Patriarch must have promised you many benefits. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stayed. A little. Lin Feng nodded. I just like freedom. I don't like being tied down. Yes. Lin Yuma looked at Lin Feng and smiled. He didn't ask further. When do you plan to leave and officially enter the inner city? Lin Feng smiled and stretched out a finger. A month later? Lin Yuma sneered. No. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. It's a year later. I don't plan to leave early. Why? Lin Yuma didn't understand. Looking at Yuma, Lin Feng smiled. Because you're here. Lin Yuma was shocked, and her face instantly turned red. Her heartbeat inexplicably sped up. Even she herself did not know why. Please don't misunderstand, Yuma. Lin Feng inwardly scolded himself for speaking carelessly. He smiled bitterly and explained. What I mean is, having a good teacher like you is very beneficial to me. Moreover, the refining environment and cultivation environment here are not bad. There's no need to leave in a hurry. What he said was indeed the truth. Yuma, as an assistant teacher, was bound to stay here for a year. To him, rather than entering an unfamiliar inner city and starting from scratch, it was better to accompany Yuma here. Firstly, he could get more information from her. Secondly, Yuma was indeed a good teacher and friend. Not only in terms of refining, but also in terms of combat strength. She was much stronger than him by several levels. Yes, he replied as softly as a mosquito. Lin Yuma also knew that she was thinking too much. What's wrong with me? In the clan, there were countless people who expressed their affection for her. Lin Fan alone had been pestering her and expressing his love for her countless times. However, she had never felt this way before. Could it be? That's impossible. Lin Yuma immediately denied it. That's not possible either. Right now, I shouldn't be thinking about other things. I don't have the right to think about it. I should focus on revitalizing my father's bloodline. 1 year later, the once-in-a-century Vermilion Bird Challenge will begin. This is my best chance. Looking at each other and smiling, Lin Feng and Lin Yuma both had their own thoughts. However, everything was understood without words. Time inscription array with 100 times the rate. His cultivation as a refiner was temporarily put aside. Improving his strength was something that could not be delayed. Huff, huff. Lin Feng closed his eyes, his expression calm. His body was different from the usual red starlight. There was a layer of faint brown light that blended into the starlight, revealing a fiendish appearance. It seemed real, yet illusory, hazy. Galuflame's body art, level 1. At this moment, Lin Feng was completely focused on his cultivation. Strengthening type 1 star. Instead of strengthening a certain part of the body, it's better to focus on strengthening it. All-round development is the right way to go. Lin Feng's thoughts were extremely clear. In the strengthening system, there are all kinds of strengthening, including the strength of the hands, flexibility, expansion of the meridians, the speed, flexibility of the legs, the body's strength, flexibility, structure, and so on. On the strengthening type main star, there was everything. This included familiarity with various weapons, abilities, sensory abilities, and visual abilities. There were too many. The Galoo Flame's body art was one of the techniques that could improve one's physical aptitude in all aspects. In terms of individual effects, it was inferior to other individual strengthening star techniques, but it could improve one's physical aptitude. Although the first level only increased one's physical fitness by 10%, it was only the first level. Besides, the strengthening of the entire body did not require readaptation. The structure of the body could be maintained perfectly and in balance. There are too few overall strengthening star techniques. This Galoo Flame's body art is almost the worst. However, the size of the star is larger than the first level of the Phoenix Attraction technique. Its star power is more than 2 points. It's a level 1 intermediate star technique. Lin Feng pondered. The higher the star power, the better the effect. On the other hand, it was his first time comprehending a star technique of the intermediate level. It was difficult. Lin Feng had already comprehended 2 star techniques. In particular, during the second time, when he comprehended a eukaryotic star technique, Lin Feng was much clearer about the passive star techniques. However, it was still a level 1 intermediate star technique, after all, and was indeed different from the low-level ones. The difficulty of comprehending it was rather high, and the Tao of the star technique was extremely profound. Comprehending it was naturally difficult. Time passed day by day. His understanding of the Galoo Flame's body art also became deeper and deeper, until one day, flames erupted around his body. The starlight was accompanied by flames, reflecting the appearance of a menacing ghost god. It was unusually menacing. Compared to the initial haziness, his face was now completely visible. His large, lantern-like eyes were filled with anger and fury. The flames around him made him look like a fiery red lion. At this moment, Lin Feng's body began to emit continuous sounds. A pure flame of the constellation surrounded him, and he seemed to have become a brand new person. Although it was only a 10% increase, it had a substantial effect on his entire body. It was a basic improvement that made his body feel like it had undergone a new layer of changes. Very good, Lin Feng exclaimed, overjoyed. The greatest advantage of a passive star technique was that it was directly strengthened. There was no need to expend any other energy. His body was not the only thing that changed. The strengthening star power also lit up, and he reached the second level of star cultivation. At this moment, in the majestic initial starry sky in his life soul, the main star was surrounded by light, and the rich power of the constellation burst forth, forming a huge star ring. The powerful force was filled with the most original energy of the constellation, making the entire main star look brand new and feel completely different. Firewall technique, Phoenix luring technique, and finally this Garuda Flames body technique. Lin Feng's current total star cultivation. He had reached the third level. Whoosh! Lin Feng opened his eyes, which were glistening. The feeling was already completely different. Lin Feng's lips curled up in a faint smile. The improvement in his strength was obvious, and the path to the third level of the Star Lord level was already wide open and unimpeded. For other warriors, the most difficult thing is to improve their star cultivation, but it seems to be the opposite for me. Lin Feng smiled valiantly. He didn't have too many bottlenecks when it came to the comprehension of star techniques, be it the active or passive star techniques. Maybe it's because this is only the first level of star cultivation. According to you, Ma, it'll be harder to comprehend in the future. I can't be careless. Lin Feng's heart trembled slightly, but he smiled faintly. Huh? Yuma doesn't seem to be here. Lin Feng looked around. Thinking about how he had cultivated for so many days, he felt that Yuma naturally needed to cultivate too. The surroundings were empty, and the density of the flames was quite high. The equipment of the various refiners was also quite complete. Compared to the backward Yanling Prefecture, the technology here was obviously much more advanced. Many incredible masterpieces were created with star crystals as the energy source. That was the embodiment of human wisdom. However, no matter how powerful the technology is, it still can't overcome power. Besides, only power is truly in one's hands. Lin Feng nodded slightly. Equipment was only an auxiliary existence. In the Douling world, the status of humans was quite humble. Not to mention the two ruling classes of the demon race and the witch race, they were even inferior to the ancient race. I'm afraid only saint-level or sage king humans can establish a foothold in the Douling world. However, it's easier said than done. Lin Feng shook his head. In the human 9 states, there were as many star lords as there were hairs on a cow. There were also plenty of star sector levels. However, they usually improved very quickly in the early stages, but the later stages would be slower. It was extremely difficult for a human to reach the saint level with their physique. After spending so much time with Yuma, Lin Feng knew a lot about humans. There were very few saint-level human warriors. However, it's really lonely without Yuma. Lin Feng smiled. He thought of the past when they studied equipment refinement together, discussed various possibilities together, and worked together. It was filled with laughter. Now, he also missed it a little. Just as he was thinking, Bada, there was a violent vibration sound. Lin Feng looked over. His eyes lit up slightly as he exclaimed softly. Someone was coming. First update, that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.